I mean, I'm not going to deny that resources can be theoretically misallocated in capitalism if there are market failures, which is why, I mean, there are cases where, I do want government intervention in the economy. But, generally speaking, this is going to happen less under a capitalist system than it is under a centrally planned economy. Would you agree with that?
It's possible.
You're not even left-wing by your own admission. You're if you're a authoritarian and you're a fascist, then you're right-wing because you seem to insist that that's part of the
I'm not a
definition.
fascist.
But you are.
You've
You've said that you support things that are like tenets of fascism. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to defend the point that Israel should never arrest someone in foreign territory? Or do you just not care about that point anymore?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
They shouldn't arrest anybody. They shouldn't even exist as a state.
Okay.
Have you read anything ever whatsoever from economics journals or from any book that disagrees with you about economics?
No, why would I read it?
Oh, okay, that's perfect. That's awesome.
If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description. Nonfon, you're scared to debate a real communist. Nonfon, you're scared to debate a ChickenChocky. If you want to join the server, buddy, okay, and have a chat.
Bro is literally going to come in, say the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your entire life, and then he's going to complain and leave.
Yeah.
I'll be silent if ChickenChocky is a communist and wants to debate him.
I'm banned in the server. I wonder why that is, bud.
Unban him. Bring him.
I was
bring him in
about
here.
to say I'm going in server settings right now to unban him, but there's a
Unban him.
Wait,
bring
what
him in
was he
here.
banned for, Nonfon? Can I take a guess?
I forget exactly. It was
was
either
probably
Did he say
dropping
the
an N-word with
stupidest
hard
shit
R.
imaginable, and then he complained when he got banned?
so I think it was either saying the N-word because quote unquote someone dared him to, like spamming the N-word.
No, it's okay. He's just in the chat calling people racist and saying that they're racist for using the N-word. But when he does it, it's just a joke and it's okay.
Everybody
Yep,
silence.
I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet.
Yeah, what's
Hello?
up, man?
Hello?
Hello.
Okay. Why do you defend liberalism?
I just feel like it's the best system. I just feel like it, protects individual rights better than most other systems, and that tends to have better outcomes for society than not.
No, this is wrong.
Okay.
How can you solve the internal contradictions of capitalism?
I'm not convinced that most of them are that big a deal. Like for example, would you say like the tendency to rate of profits to fall is an internal contradiction?
No, that's not an internal contradiction, but this is also a big problem.
Well, so then I thought it was an internal. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my understanding of Marx is wrong. I'm sure I don't have a
No
good understanding as you.
contradictions, like, for
but
example,
there's just a lot of these things that I'm just not convinced are like empirically supported or anything. Like it doesn't seem like it's the case. It seems like capitalist societies a lot of times tend to have better outcomes than communist societies. So like I'm not convinced that these internal contradictions
communist
or whatever.
societies.
Yeah.
You think communist society exists?
Well,
before?
sorry. If you want to say that full-on communism never existed, societies that tended towards a communist goal or whatever tended to not necessarily have as good outcomes as a lot of capitalist societies.
But this is because of the imperialism, because the imperialist states do embargo and shit on them. Have you ever thought about this?
I mean, it doesn't seem like that's the case. Like, here's a question. If I cite a paper that says, for example, Cuba does badly because it has a centrally planned economy and not because of the embargo, would that change your mind at all? Or is the paper written by an
No.
economist?
Yes, exactly. The paper was written by imperialist people, of course.
Okay, right.
And
So it
you-
doesn't
you
matter.
really
So it doesn't
think
matter how much
Cuba-
evidence or how many papers I can cite you published in like economics journals. So those are all just imperialist.
Especially Cuba, it's a small country and the biggest neighbor is USA. And you think embargo by USA doesn't impact the
I'm not saying it
economy?
doesn't impact them. I guarantee you it has some impact, but I think primarily, I think the primary issue of Cuba is a lot of the central planning, and the way I've derived at that is looking at evidence, for example, from studies published in economics journals. I'm very curious if you don't find any of that evidence valid how the hell are you deriving at what the bigger factor is there?
Well, maybe they do the central planning wrong. Have you ever thought about this? And look at China; they have central
it's
planning.
wait,
and
hold
they
on,
have
wait.
so big growth.
Well, hold on, wait. It's entirely possible that they could have central planning with better outcomes, but that you would recognize that that's not the embargo at fault there, right? Like that, like if we're discussing the relative importance of the embargo versus the centrally planned economy, if your argument is that they're doing central planning wrong, well, that's still the central planning that's responsible. It's just that you think there might be better models of central planning.
No. It's
No?
not central planning fault. And second,
Okay.
it can be both.
No.
Both.
So I agree that the embargo does have a negative effect on Cuba, or the sanctions and everything I mean, Cuba, I think it's kind of misleading to say that we still embargo Cuba, because I think other countries can now trade with Cuba. Like, it's not like we shoot ships down going to Cuba anymore. It's just that we kind of like sanction companies that do business in Cuba. But I agree that has an impact. I just think that central planning has a bigger impact.
Yes, but there are other problems. And if you think Cuba is a good example, it's not, because it need to be in every country needs to be communism, not only in one country. It will be very hard.
You're saying that in order for us to know if communism works or whatever, or has better outcomes, every country would have to be.
You already know it works. Why wouldn't it work?
Well, how do we know? Well, that's my question. Is like how would we determine whether or not society is tending towards a communist goal, if you don't want to call it communism? How would we know if those had better outcomes than capitalist countries? Like, what would we look at to test that?
Okay, we look at the Marxist theory. You can see that the internal contradictions of capitalism lead to collapse, and then first fascism, and then total collapse of society and chaos, aka anarchism. And that's why we need to organize the revolution, so we can destroy capitalism in a ordered way, more ordered, and have a good dictatorship of the proletariat. Then
Okay, so you're not really
not kill, but get rid of all the counter-revolutionary and stuff. Then we have socialism, and then we do education and re-education camps
okay
until we reach communism.
Okay, so that didn't really answer my question. My question again was like, what metrics could we look at to determine like whether or not a communist or socialist trying to achieve a communist goal, what could we look at to view, sort of the relative quality of life or relative
it's not even the question.
How they're performing relative. Well, that's my question, is how do we, I said liberalism. It seems like the outcomes in liberal countries and capitalist countries tend to be better than a lot of, communist societies. And my question was like, what metrics would we look at to determine
You don't
this?
need to look at any metrics. You need to look at historical materialism.
Wait.
That liberalism cannot work forever.
Well, how would we? Well, okay, hold on. If you're just gonna cite, so would you say Marxist theory? Let's just say hypothetically, it was the case. Like, and to be clear, I don't think this hypothetical that I'm saying is the case. But let's just say hypothetically, we saw in literally every socialist country that there was like statistically significant negative effects on economic growth. There was like statistically significant like negative effects on nutrition, and like a lot of literally every socialist country just had a lower standard of living. There's more starvation. There's more poor people than every capitalist society. Would you say still that Marxist theories would supersede that evidence?
Yes, of course, because that's not even relevant. How is this relevant?
What do you mean? Wait, you don't think it's relevant whether or not every communist society has had I'm not saying this necessarily is the case, although I do believe, like I said, generally, capitalist societies have better standards of living. You don't believe that it would be relevant if every communist society had a lower standard of living than capitalist countries? You don't believe that would be relevant?
No, it's not relevant. And how is it even possible? You cannot have a socialist society or socialist state.
I understand. Okay, well, hold on. When I say I understand, you have these definitions that, you know, when you say socialist society, you mean a very specific thing. But when I say
society.
socialist society, all I'm referring to is like a non-capitalist country that is trying to achieve, you know, Marx's end goal or whatever. Like I'm not getting as much meaning out of the term socialist as you are. Like,
Yes, just because they have a different goal, it doesn't even matter. One country is rich, one country is poor. It doesn't matter. If every rich country becomes suddenly socialist, then all the socialist countries will be richer than the capitalist.
no, well, hold on.
Can't
Well,
s-
no,
compare this.
we're talking about causality here, right? So presumably, you know, like presumably, if literally every socialist country, you know, was poor and remained poor for a while, whilst every capitalist country was growing, like you would attribute that would be at least evidence of causation there, right? That, like, that'd be evidence that socialism was having some negative causal effect on a country's growth rate. Like,
Yes, but this is not even the reason why we need socialism. But the reason is because capitalism will collapse due to its internal contradictions.
okay. I mean, I'm not convinced that's the case, considering how long capitalism. I understand capitalism is not like necessarily that old, but like, I don't know. We don't seem
Yes.
to. It seems like in a lot of capitalist countries, like, things seem to just, you know, be continually getting better for the most part. It doesn't really seem like any of this stuff is happening.
Well,
Like,
that's what I would have thought in every other step of historical materialism too. For example,
well,
feudalism
I don't
was
think that's
around for 700 years or longer.
Well, I
1,000
understand, but
years,
it,
I don't know.
you know, I don't think it's the case that living standards grew under feudalism as fast as they are under capitalism. It just doesn't seem like that's the case.
Well, it depends where you are and what happened.
I mean, it doesn't really depend. Like, it looks like basically any country that you look at, you know, there's kind of a hockey stick level of like GDP growth or standard of living where it's like very low for hundreds of years, and then we start doing more market-oriented things. And
No.
no, you
This
don't
is
think
all due
that's...
to the industrialization mainly, and not due to market-oriented things or whatever.
Well,
Market-oriented things
I don't
came
entirely-
due to industrialization, but not the other way around.
No, well, I don't entirely disagree with you. Like, it was obviously the Industrial Revolution. Like, yeah, that did lead to this hockey stick level of growth and everything. But again, it just does seem like it happened faster in a lot of capitalist countries, and like we've seen continued increases in the standard of living in capitalist countries, but we haven't seen the same in, for example, Cuba. Like,
And you think this is because of their ideology that they don't have growth?
I think it's because of a lot of basically sort of like systemic issues with central planning. Like, I think just market systems.
Of course.
Market systems tend to like lead to pretty good incentives for you know, producers and consumers to do market activity, right? Like that seems to align incentives pretty well. And central planning kind of because central planning like lacks, you know, price system information, and central planners don't have to worry about factor prices, and, you know, they don't have to worry about competition. It seems like that's you know, there aren't many incentives to innovate. There aren't many incentives to be productive. Can be issues with resource misallocation because factor prices aren't at play. Like, it just seems like that leads to a lot of issues.
How does it lead to issues? And even if you look at Africa,
Well,
they have
well,
countries that are capitalist and don't have a lot of growth either. It's not because of the system. That's not even important if they have a lot of growth or not.
well, sure.
There are
Well,
different things that are important.
so two things. I mean, one, here's a like very simple. I mean, I'm sure you've heard this before. Like, very simple example people give is like, oh, you know, if you have a railroad company or whatever, if you're in a market, if you're, you know, and you have to build a railroad, you can either go around the mountain or you can like dig a tunnel through the mountain. Under a capitalist system, you're going to do, you know, what has lower cost, right? And the relevant thing is that,
Yes.
you know, these prices aren't just like arbitrary, but they are information. They reflect sort of the relative abundance of, say, the added steel that it takes to go around the mountain versus the added concrete that it takes to, you know, build the tunnel through the mountain, right? Like, these reflect the relative abundance of resources in society. You're going to choose a cheaper one, the one that basically it's like a lower opportunity cost for. and that allows the more scarce resource to be used for other things. And like that's a really good, that's a really good system. Under a centrally planned economy where concrete and steel, their prices are set by some central authority, or maybe you don't even have prices really. It's just a government production of concrete, and they'll just give it to whichever centrally planned government railroad company that exists. We don't even have these factor prices. Well, how do you determine what is the best use of resources to go through or around the mountain? You don't really have you don't really have as good of a mechanism for doing that.
You think they don't know what is worth more, concrete or stone or work?
Well,
Or
if the prices are centrally controlled, then no, you don't have that. No, or it at the very least takes more work to derive that. Yeah, but now we have the issue of everyone in the economy or all these government bureaucrats have to measure like what the market price of these things would be. That creates a lot of distortion there rather than just letting the market work naturally. Like
no, they will know it after a time. If they say 1,000 tons of concrete take 3 million work hours or whatever, I don't know. And they know it, and then they can say, "Oh, this take more work hours, so it's worth more."
That's not no, no. That's not how market prices work, right? So market prices don't just reflect the number of work hours, right? They also reflect the price of the, inputs going into the good. They reflect.
Yeah, if it's rare goods, of course.
Right. Well, no. For essentially all goods, the price of inputs into the good does affect its price, obviously. But this is the fundamental. This is like the fundamental problem here is that you need these government bureaucrats to have all this information and compute all this information. And one, it's just simply not possible for them to do that for every single project ever, for every single resource. They simply cannot get all of that knowledge. And two, even if they can, in some cases at least, there's still dead weight loss there, in that you have people who could have otherwise been doing more productive things, like calculating the most efficient way to use resources, when they could have just, when the prices could have done that for them. Prices could have just informed them what was the more productive use of resources.
Yeah, but I don't even. Of course, it is possible to measure it all the time, but I don't even know how you think this is relevant if capitalism is literally collapsing. How can
hold on. We can get to that. But you would acknowledge that in that case there could be resource misallocations, right? In that we don't, under the central planning economy, there's going to be a lot of projects that, because they don't have factor prices, do the more inefficient thing. Go around the mountain when they should have gone through it.
Maybe, but this is possible in capitalism too.
I mean, I'm not going to deny that resources can be theoretically misallocated in capitalism if there are market failures, which is why, there are cases where, I do want government intervention in the economy. But, generally speaking, this is going to happen less under a capitalist system than it is under a centrally planned economy. Would you agree with that?
It's possible.
It's possible?
But in the other hand, there's no other solution than communism.
Well, hold on. Would you at least... So would you acknowledge that if this does happen more often under a centrally planned economy, that centrally planned economy is always going to have a lower level of output than like a capitalist economy? It's always going to be poorer. It's always going to use resources more inefficiently.
Yes. Okay. And why is it relevant?
Because the standard of living matters. How much we produce matters. That determines like the quality of life.
No,
largely.
It doesn't matter. If you
absolutely
see capitalism is collapsing, then the standard of living is even more. Well,
I understand. No, so we can get to the capitalism collapsing thing. We can discuss that, but obviously, you would agree. All else equal, you would rather society be more abundant, use resources more efficiently, have more things produced, than have less things produced and have be poorer and have less income. Like, you would prefer the former.
Yes, of course. They need to be
so it is relevant. Okay.
Also, they need to look at the environment. They can't just.
Well, sure. So
the environment.
So I agree. There are essentially externalities where it would be capitalism can, pollute the environment or whatever, and there might need to be a corrective tax in that case and everything. I agree that can happen. Like
Not a corrective tax. That's so liberal of you to say. Tax
I'm a
can
liberal.
solve everything.
Well, it's not that it can solve everything, but you would agree that like a carbon taxing carbon would probably reduce the amount of carbon emissions, right?
No, I really don't think so.
You don't
the rich
think that?
people
You
just
think?
don't care. They put out more. Yeah, maybe for the poor, it only affects the poor people. They can't even drive the cars because they say, "Oh, we have no money."
Well,
for
wait, hold on.
carbon."
One, if that's you acknowledging that it would, if poor people don't drive their cars, that would lower carbon emissions. You might think that's unjust to do or whatever, but you at least acknowledge,
It's
even if it did
unjust.
only affect poor people, it would it would lower carbon emissions, right?
Yes, but only very small amount. They always say,
Okay.
"Oh,
Well,
your carbon
but you
footprint
would
is
you would
bad."
so
In the
but for
end,
rich
the
people.
industry make way more carbon than the consumers.
Sure, but the relevant thing here is we're gonna, I mean, presumably tax carbon enough to make it more profitable for businesses to rely on non-carbon emitting sources and means of production, right? Like we're gonna tax carbon enough where these companies don't want to emit carbon, so
Yes.
they invest in renewable energy, and that way they're not emitting carbon, right? Like that would lower carbon emissions even for mega corporations. These greedy mega corporations who want to maximize profit, okay, they would switch to more renewable sources, right? Like,
Yes, they would try to do it, but they would also try to hide the carbon.
I mean, I agree. I just don't. I don't think the avoidance rate would be that high for a carbon tax, but. Well, I mean, we could just. So here's like if I don't have a paper on this, to be clear, so I haven't read up on this, but like if I could find a paper from Canada or something that said like, oh, the avoidance rate for a carbon tax is pretty low, would that be of any value for you, or would you just reject it because it's an imperialist source?
No, I don't reject it because it's imperialist, but I reject it because how can they know how high the avoidance rate is? That's
You don't think
bad
there's
avoidance
any?
if they
You
know
don't
it.
think there's any statistical methods that you could use to determine approximately how high the avoidance rate is for certain taxes? You don't think that's possible?
For certain taxes, yes, but not for carbon emission tax. How would
I-
I do it?
I don't know. I mean, you could look up a study and try to and read their method if you really wanted to find it out. But I don't know. Presumably,
They could maybe measure the carbon, but it will spread all around the Earth, not just in Canada.
that's not relevant for. Yeah, but that's not relevant for calculating how much the tax is avoided, right? You just have to keep track of the companies in Canada that are still emitting and not, being charged for it, right? Like,
Yeah, but how would they know when the companies say, "Oh, we're not emitting carbon," but they are secretly emitting carbon? How would they know it? They could never know it.
I mean, I don't know, but like we could, I'm sure we
That's not
could read. Oh, whoops. I'm sure we could find an article or a paper that has a method.
Yeah, but I don't think this method will be very, very accurate.
Okay.
So now, how do you want to solve the internal contradiction, for example, employer versus employee, or profit versus...
I don't think that is.
people-
I mean, I'm going to explain more employer versus employee. Why is this necessarily a contradiction?
Why this a contradiction? Because they have different... different
Incentives,
goals.
different goal. Yeah, it's true of literally. It's true of every transaction, right? Is buyer wants to buy for as low as possible. The seller wants to sell for as high as possible. But like,
Yes, that's what Marx called a contradiction.
I don't think that's a contradiction. I think this is just.
Marx calls this a contradiction.
Then Marx is stupid. That's not. I don't think that's a contradiction. That's simply that. I mean, that's simply just incentives, and that's always going to be the case. But look, I mean, I think what's
No, it means just calls it contradiction. It's a word in Marxism. It's not the same as normal contradiction.
Oh, right, it's a special term. Okay, great, that's awesome. But I'm just not convinced that that's like a bad thing because it seems like voluntary trade can still happen under this, and people can still come off better off. So like even if I go get a haircut, I obviously want to pay as little for the haircut as possible. Well, the haircut provider the barber or whatever wants to, charge as much as possible for the haircut, but I can still get a haircut, be happy with it, be happy with the price I paid, and the barber can still provide the haircut, be happy with the price that they got, and we can both come off better off from that transaction. And I feel like that's true of most transactions in the economy.
But it will always become more expensive, and then one day you can't afford a haircut.
I'm not convinced that's the case. It seems like the price of a lot of things have fallen, actually, in real terms and in nominal terms. Even like the price of clothes has fallen in nominal terms. But
yes, but for example, employee versus employer. How would you solve this contradiction?
I don't know. I would just say the same thing. It seems like there are plenty of cases where I can be better off for working for someone, and they can be better off for having me work for them. It seems like there's a lot of places there where we can have a mutually beneficial relationship, and it's not contradiction really.
Yeah, but the employer always wants to pay less and less and less and less.
I don't disagree, but I mean the employee always wants to be paid more and more, right? And like this is it just seems like over time real wages tend to grow. It seems like there's still mutually beneficial transactions that happen here, but
real wages are not growing, only wages, but not real wages.
Because real wages are not growing where? What do you want? Do you want to talk about America?
For example, America or everywhere.
I'm only really familiar with America, but like, if you look at, do you deny that like if I just divide hourly wages by, even CPI, that those have gone up over time? Those are now higher than they ever have been, actually.
Not really, but
okay. So if I send you a graph of wages deflated using CPI and it shows that they're higher than they ever have been, are you gonna admit that you're wrong there, or?
Wait. I'm saying, in the last few years, you see maybe the wages increased by 5%, but also the inflation increased by also 5%.
Okay, so what do you think? Wait.
Yeah, see that in the end.
Dumbass, retard. I said wages. I said wages divided by inflation. This is real wages. This is.
Yeah, and do you see from 2020 to 2025? It's not going up.
It did. No, wait, hold on. So in 2020, there was a composition error. Basically, the low wage workers.
1970.
The low wage. Yes, I see 19. The low wage workers were all fired in 2020, right? So it looked like basically, because all the low wage workers were fired, they were the non-essential employees or whatever. But a lot of high wage earners were still being employed. It made the average wage go up, but that's not really true, because obviously they were fired, right? They have no income and are not working. As they were rehired, average wages went down because now all these low wage workers are working again. But that's just a composition error. You can see, after 2022, they started going
$1.
They started going back up again.
To today. $1.
What? Sorry?
From 1975.
So that's using. So this is so I had some issue. Well, hold on.
$1.
No. So basically, what this is doing, I'm trying to explain. What this is doing is it's dividing hourly wages by CPI, right? And I would take issue.
So it went up by $1.
So I would take issue, number one, with the use of CPI. I think CPI overestimates inflation. I think CPI overestimated.
You wanted to show this.
What? Sorry.
You wanted to show this, why you?
No. I know. I know. I'm just telling you that even using what I consider not a super robust methodology, wages are higher today than they ever have been. Do you deny that?
By $1. By $1.
Well, hold on. Well, I'm trying to explain to you why I believe it's more than $1. And this graph just doesn't, or the top line of this graph just doesn't account for that. If you look at the bottom line using PCE, which I think is a better deflator, it went from 22 to like 30, so that's almost $10. But regardless,
yeah, it's still not enough. Still
not enough based on what? But okay, regardless. So the top line.
Cost of living.
Are you fucking stupid? PC. Okay, you're retarded. Okay. This is real wages. Real wages is based on the cost. This is adjusted for the cost of living. Wages have gone up $10. The bottom line in this graph.
Yeah, but they can always fake it, and today you need.
They can always fake it.
In 1975.
Wait, what? Sorry.
They need way more things. They can never do a good calculation about this.
What do you mean they need way more things? What? Sorry. Like the way like.
Yeah, back in the day, you didn't need a mobile phone. And
No. This is account. This is no. Look. This is the mobile phones are measured in CPI. What do you mean? And PCE.
Yeah, but still, it's still not enough. $10. They just do reformism.
Not enough based on what?
Revolution.
And I actually think
enough.
even this PCE line here is probably underestimating it a little bit. So briefly, if you'll let me explain real quick, let's just look at the top line here. Oh, it's only gone up $1. So number one, I would take issue with the use of CPI. I think CPI tends to overestimate inflation, particularly before I think it's called the Boskin Commission in 1996, where they changed the methodology for CPI because they felt like it was overestimating inflation by like 1.1 percentage points per year. Secondly, I would take issue with the fact that they're only looking at hourly wages. So a lot of compensation nowadays is not in the form of hourly wages, but companies started paying out, health insurance benefits and like retirement contributions. Those are still income. Like those are still contributions that should be counted in income. It's just that because they are favored tax wise, they have tax favorability for providing health care. That's not instead of being paid in hourly wages, you are paid in health insurance and things like that. And it seems like if you adjust for that, wages have gone up even more. Like I can send you an article, not that, it doesn't matter. You'll just deny it anyway, or you say it's not enough anyways. But like, if you try to adjust for these things, if you use PCE and look at total compensation, wages are like on a more steady path than you would think. Like,
yeah, but did you ever compare this to GDP since 1975?
What do you mean by that?
It's not enough.
I don't know. I don't mean by not enough.
Look, here I have a copy.
You're just gonna say some bullshit at me, but okay.
No. Look, this is the GDP. If you look 1970, or what is this? Trillions.
This is just the
5
U.S.
trillion
versus Canada GDP.
Yes, and now they have over 15 trillions GDP. So the real wage should have tripled.
I don't think that
10% or something.
Well, look, so one, I think I don't know if it's tripled, but I'll try to find the graph I'm looking for. But it looks like if you look at just total compensation or whatever, like it has risen decently. This is household income. Has risen decently since the 70s or whatever.
Yeah,
but I think so. I think
or something.
I'd have to do more reading on this to talk about it more. But I think you are correct in saying so basically the labor share of income I think has been declining, and there are reasons for that. And I might even be able to build a bridge with you on for example, union power has decreased, and that has probably to an extent been responsible for that. But I don't know. I'd have to read more to be comfortable talking about why the labor share of income is declining.
It's obvious because of capitalism. The richest.
Hold on, wait. Just what is your evidence that it's because of capitalism? Is the evidence just like vibes, or is it just like because Marx said so, or do you have like a paper that explains this, or?
No, I don't have a paper, but
okay.
The reason is because in capitalism they don't want to give the money to the people, because then the people wouldn't go to work, to the jobs.
Thanks, Momo, for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome
they
to the
only
stream.
go to the jobs because poor people exist. Nobody would go to a job for a minimum wage, but I'm wash toilets.
I'm not convinced that's the case. I mean, you can look at countries with pretty heavy welfare states and pretty heavy redistribution, and like they have higher, rates of labor participation than we do. It doesn't seem like just making sure poor people don't really exist or whatever. It doesn't seem like that has a big impact on how many people are working.
But you can see this in Europe, the countries that have welfare state, even they give so little to the unemployed people that they have the minimum
Hold on, you think
minimum wage for living.
Wait, you
Without
think
the minimum
Europe
wage work,
gives so
not
little
work.
to unemployed people? You think Norway and
exactly.
Finland give so little to unemployed people?
Yes, they just give them enough to make a living, but not enough to.
I
live
think
good.
in Norway and Finland they give more than enough to make a living. They give it. Yeah, I'm not familiar with exactly how much, but they give a decent amount of, aid and welfare to. I mean, Finland will give you a fucking house. They have their housing first homeless policy, right? Like, if you can't really be homeless in Finland, you just get a house. Like, I'm sure
Yeah,
it's
but
like
you
a
need
small.
enough
I was
to
gonna say house, not in like the 2,000 square foot suburban house, but houses in a place to like live, like a small.
An apartment. You can say an apartment, not a house.
I don't know. If I look up Finland housing first, like I'm sure some of them are in apartments, but like I don't know.
Yeah,
But how many
they
Americans
are not going to give a house to a
I mean,
homeless
this looks
people.
like a sort of like a duplex. It doesn't really look like I don't know, or like a condo. This is more than just like a shitty apartment, but
Yeah, but even they say it in every country in Europe, you don't have to give enough to the unemployed people, because then the minimum wage people would want more too. That's why they give so
I
little
mean, the
to
minimum
the
wage in
unemployed.
some of these places is like It's like $20. Like, some of the, or actually, I don't know
Yes.
for sure, but I mean, I don't. A lot of these countries don't even have minimum wages because the unions are strong enough to just negotiate for employees to get higher wages. Like, it's
Do you
just
think $20 is a lot, or
for, I mean, for minimum wage for an entry level job in a European country, yeah.
no? It's not. If you look how much the billionaires,
Okay.
there are billionaires, they make more in a second.
Yeah, that's not relevant for okay. Yeah, $20 an hour
bro.
is not a lot compared to a billionaire. You caught me. Oh, thanks, Time
hate
Pod for the
you.
sub. I appreciate it. 12 months, hell yeah. I hate you. Thank you, buddy.
If billionaires wouldn't
Um,
exist, then they could have $100
No,
an hour.
no, that's not how. No,
Yes,
they
yes,
would
yes.
never. No.
Of course.
You could. So you
No.
could. So hold on. I agree. If you taxed billionaires more, you could redistribute that income to
Not
poor
tax.
people in the form of welfare or whatever, in the form of UBI, but you're not going to. These people's, productivity is just not worth paying them $100 an hour. You're never gonna get a company to pay them $100 an hour because they're just not worth that much.
Yes, but you don't need a company to pay them, but the government.
Okay,
It's
the
not.
government.
It's not
Okay.
important if they're worth or not. And
Well-
worth, how do you define the worth of a person,
How do I define the worth of a person? Sorry.
or how do you determine how much an hour of work is worth? Just by how much they
it's
produce?
as a kind of hard question. So market answer is going to be marginal productivity, right? Is it the marginal product is
Yeah,
roughly
but
equal
that's
to
just
the?
capitalism. It's wrong.
It's wrong. Okay.
Yes, it's capitalism.
Right. Well, I would just say that paying people based on roughly their marginal productivity, not that it's always exactly perfect or anything, is probably going to align incentives better than like having the government centrally determine everyone's wage, right? Like that's gonna be the argument. We're gonna go back to a little bit earlier in the conversation. Why I think it's generally better. Labor is going to be allocated more efficiently if people are paid based on a marginal product than if the government just sets everyone's wage. Like that's going to be
Yeah, but this is just gonna make the rich even richer, the poor poorer, until everything collapses.
I mean,
It's not good.
I just don't. I just don't think that's, empirically like what we. It doesn't seem like that's what we see in a lot of these countries with better redistribution policies and with better like sort of pre-distribution policies, like stronger unions and things like that. Like I don't know, and I don't think there's any intrinsic problem with inequality. If you gave me the choice between, a society where I'm not saying this, I want to be nice. I'm not saying that this is the case of communism and everything. But if you gave me the choice between a society where 50% of the population is starving, but everyone is equal, and a society where, someone is a few people are ultra wealthy, but the standard of living is higher for everyone. I'd prefer the second society, right?
Yes, but nobody prefers the first society.
Well, exactly. That's my point. That's just like an intuition pump to get you to acknowledge that like there's more important things than just inequality.
Why do you
right?
even say this?
But I just explained. It's an intuition pump to get you to understand that inequality is not necessarily the thing that matters, right? Like I'd prefer a society with more inequality but a higher overall standard of living than a society with less inequality but a lower overall standard of living. That's the point of the hypothetical, right? Or intuition pump or whatever.
Yeah, but who said they want a lower standard of living? Nobody wants this.
Well, I think I'm not necessarily saying you want a lower standard of living, but for the reasons I mentioned earlier, under central planning, there's going to be resource misallocation. Under heavy redistribution, I would say that's probably not, it's not going to be the same incentives to invest or whatever. So you're probably going to have lower overall growth. Not that there isn't a trade-off to be made there. That's positive sometimes. It's just that it seems like the standard of living. You even admitted this. You admitted that under a centrally planned economy, that there would be more resource misallocation than under a capitalist economy.
No, I didn't say more. I said it could be possible in both.
You said it could be possible, right? No.
Yes.
But you said it could be possible in both of them, and then I said, "Do you agree that is generally going to happen more in a central planned economy?" And you said yes. You said yes to that.
No.
You did say. I mean, everyone can rewind and see that you said yes to that. But okay.
I didn't say it's more likely. But second of all, you can use the capital that's already here to redistribute this.
No. I don't disagree that you could do that, but again, so I am in favor of a decent amount of redistribution. I do want to tax the rich, more based on their consumption, but not their investment and everything. We might have a
but that's
disagreement
just
there.
reformism.
But, what? Sorry.
That's just reformism. It's just gonna keep the system alive for longer. But the
Well,
system is flawed.
No. So the reason I would, again, like I don't find any intrinsic value in equality or anything. I would say, sort of the reason.
No, it's not about idealistic things. It's poor materialist analysis.
Okay, poor material. Yeah, that's true, buddy.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I mean I don't know what to tell you, because again, like it doesn't matter. To be clear, like I couldn't. It doesn't matter if I cite evidence at you, right, about like the causes of these things, because you're just gonna say it doesn't align with Marx, right? So it's not accurate. It's written by an imperialist econ journal, or.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it aligns with Marx or not. It just matters if it's materialist analysis or not.
Okay. Well, none of this is a materialist analysis, so you're gonna reject all of it, right? Like.
Yes, if it's ideological, yes, if it's idealist stuff, I will reject it. Yes.
Okay. So like I don't know, like okay, so like I don't know like what evidence, like I don't know what evidence I could possibly present you with that would ever like change your mind on like whether or not capitalism is good if you just reject like all the empirical evidence, and like you reject any you reject any non-materialist analysis, like what it like.
I never said it's not good. I just said that it will collapse. It's a necessary step in historical materialism.
Okay, but how could I ever disprove that if you only ever think of this through
These in the
the
Western world.
materialist lens, right? Like you're saying the materialist, ideology or whatever, or analysis will lead me to believe that capitalism will collapse. And by the way, the only thing that you can possibly cite to debunk that is my materialist analysis itself. So like what am I gonna, like, I can't I can't cite anything outside the theory that you're stating is going to prove you right. Like I'm not like,
Yes, now you get it. You can't state anything because it's true. Because it's true.
no, but I'm saying how could I ever disprove this if the only thing I could cite to disprove it is materialist analysis itself? There's no, like, do you not see how that's circular? I'm saying like, oh, you can only I'm trying to think of an analogy, but like you're saying like, oh, like couldn't I just do like the same? You can only prove liberalism is wrong if you cite a liberal analysis. It's like, okay, like you're not gonna.
Don't you know what materialism means?
I know, yeah, I'm broadly familiar, but like,
It just means it's true. It's not
okay,
idealist.
couldn't I literally just say, oh, liberal analysis means it's true? So you're not going to be able to cite anything that's not a liberal analysis out.
What? No, you don't get it.
I don't get
Materialist
it.
just means if you look at the numbers and shit, if you analyze everything,
I don't
you
think
see that
that's.
capitalism. For example, you said
I don't think that's how Marx defined
tendency
materialism.
of the rate of profit to fall.
Right.
Right, you said this.
Mm-hmm.
For example, this. It's materialist analysis. You see the tendency of the rate of profit to fall. One day
Hold
it
on,
will hit
hold
zero.
on. Wait. To be clear,
What will happen?
the tendency of the rate of profits to fall is not well supported by empirical evidence, right? So again, if I were to cite you papers that show that it's not well supported by the empirical evidence, would you care about that? Or
Yes, of course, I would care very much. But I know
Okay.
some graphs that say it's very true.
okay. So if I again, I can find the thing. I've looked into this a little bit before. Like there's this article by on Learning Economics, who is not necessarily he's not a Marxist, but he's not necessarily capitalist. I think he would call himself not a capitalist. He has an article. I'm sure we could run through it if you really wanted to, kind of debunking a lot of this, a lot of the tendency of the rate of profit to fall, right?
Here is the very important graph.
Okay, so this graph is probably in the article, and it's probably it's debunked in the thing. It's just
By 2155, it will hit zero.
wow.
Just so you know.
Okay, great. So
And what will happen then?
So again, but like
Just
I can
won't
just cite,
collapse?
like but like if I just send a picture of a graph to you, are you gonna like now reject that graph is accurate, or are you gonna?
Wait, you also sent a graph.
I sent you
Mom,
an
can we have
article which cites, I'm sure there's graphs in it that are the opposite of that graph. Like again, like I would have to read up on this to like have a full debate about the tendency of the rate of profits to fall. But like it just seems like it's not worth reading up on it if you would never accept any like economics paper that I cite you, or you would never accept any non-Marxist materialist analysis.
You still don't get what is material analysis. It can still
right.
be material analysis if it's not Marxist.
Okay.
It just means based on facts, not just ideological stuff like, oh, I don't like black people. That's ideological.
Okay.
But if you say this and this, because of this and this, this and this follows, this is materialistic.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm fairly, fairly certain none of these economists hate black people. Don't worry. But
Okay, good. But see, your graph says G20 rate of profit. Why only G20? It's already very
why only
flawed.
G2? What do you mean? Yours only looks at
It says
or does it
world
look at
rate
the
of
whole world?
profit.
Or okay. I don't know. Like,
Yes, the whole world.
I'm assuming the data is just better available for the G20 countries, but I don't know why necessarily. I don't know why necessarily. Like if something holds true for the whole world, and if you're saying this holds true, you know, so universally that any capitalist society is going to collapse, why would it not hold true for the G20 countries?
Because of imperialism, of course. G20 are the
Okay.
exploiters.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Why do you think that they would collapse if they're like? Why do you think they would collapse then if they're imperialist? If they can defy the internal contradictions of capitalism by being imperialist?
Only
they
for
just-
so long. Only for so long.
Only
They
for
can't
so long?
exploit
Okay.
a country that has nothing left. How
Okay.
can you exploit a country that has nothing? Nothing. You can't
mean,
exploit it.
I mean, countries can grow over time, right? I mean, presumably. I mean, first of all, I'm obviously not convinced that they're doing that, but it just seems like countries grow over time and actually get wealthier over time. So it seems like, if anything, there's more potential for exploitation in most of these countries. Like, we're not seeing, like, we're like, even in Africa, we're seeing most of those countries, you know, get richer over time, even if at a relatively slow pace. Like, and even if, you know, there are unstable countries that kind of defy that trend because of war and everything. But
look, your graph is already way lower. Yours is at 9.5%.
no, this is what graph are you looking at in that article?
No, the one on your picture.
The one of my
Is mom can we have economics at
Yeah,
all?
no. So this is
because
no.
we have economics.
Okay, so this is okay. So retard. So number one, this isn't a picture. This is
What?
an
You're a
article,
retard.
and the Discord embed has that picture as the header. Okay, so the point of the meme, the
Yeah.
point of the meme is that, you know, the original thing in the meme is like, oh, mom, can we have McDonald's? And mom says, no, we have food at home. And then, like, food at home, and it's like really bad food, right? So like, this is the joke this is saying is, mom, can we have economics? And then we already have economics at home. And then economics at home is really bad economics. You recognize the point that he is making is that this chart is bad.
Why is it bad? Why is it bad?
Wait, hold on. Do you recognize that that's at least a point he is making?
Who?
The guy who wrote this article, Unlearning Economics, the guy who made this meme.
I don't know. I don't know this guy. How can I know?
Because
what
I
his
just
point-
I
what
so I
point he's
just
making?
explained to you the meme, right? The meme is like, can we have this good thing? And the mom says, no, we have this good thing at home, but then the good thing at home is bad. That's why it's funny. So you recognize the point he's making is that this chart is bad.
Yeah. Okay. And
I'm just saying, like, it's just like it's. It seems weird to me that, one, you didn't understand that this wasn't a picture I sent. This is an article that like links to an article, and like the whole point of this article is debunking this graph, and you're like, it's just really funny to me that you're saying like your graph that you cited, you know, has or shows the rate of profit falling. Yeah, because the whole point of the article is debunking this graph. Like, that's the whole.
but why did they even define? Yeah, this is behind the paywall.
No, it's not.
No. But they sent a little header.
Yeah, this is a header. Yeah.
You want I read all of this? No. British rate of profit. They just look at the British rate.
Momo, we watched it earlier. I don't know if I'll make a YouTube video out of it. But it was pretty funny, but like, I don't know. I don't know what to. It's like, I don't even know what to say, man. It's like, it's just him lying. It's just like. It's just like, oh, Trump subsidized Canada, trade deficit subsidized Canada, losing billions of dollars, losing $1 trillion every second. And then it's like, what do I even, like, I've talked about the trade deficit hundreds of times with a lot, you know, reacting to a bunch of different videos, debating a lot of people. But I'm very glad that people are finding me from my YouTube channel. That's very cool. I appreciate it.
You did. You're talking to me.
Sorry, I was just
Yeah,
talking to chat. I
Counter
didn't
my
hear
argument.
I didn't hear what you said, but
Yeah, I said, what is this article? Why did you send this article?
I sent this article because it's an article from a, you know, anti-capitalist, I would say. You might still call him a capitalist, but certainly not neoliberal economists explaining why the tendency to rate of profits to fall is just not it's just not supported empirically. That's why the article is titled "The Astonishingly Poor Empirics at a Tendency to Rate of Profit to Fall."
Yeah, but this article just looks at graphs from UK, England,
Okay,
and
so
doesn't look at the whole
no,
world.
okay.
Not where the
I'm
people
sure
are-
at least one of the papers he cites in this, you know, in this article does look at the whole world or whatever. But again,
You
you
think
would
I will read this whole article?
wait, would you agree? Would you agree that the rate of profit isn't falling in the G20 countries? Then is that your position, that it doesn't fall in these countries and it's only falling in developing countries? Or
No, it falls in these countries, of course, too.
okay,
But maybe a
so
bit
then
slower,
why are
but
you
then
saying
one
it's
day-
flawed to look at these countries if you think it's falling in these countries as well?
Why? Because it can't stay up longer. I already explained to you.
No.
You can't
But
exploit
if
it
you,
for this
let's say you think the tendency to rate of profit is falling in the UK or in the US or in the G20 countries. Let's say we look at the data and it turns out it isn't falling in these countries. Would you
Yes. It could be.
would you say that assumption was wrong? The initial assumption that it is falling in these countries is wrong?
What if it doesn't fall in these countries? Does it not fall in these countries? Yes, of course.
Well, yeah, but that would run against your initial assumption, right? That the tendency to rate of profit to
No.
fall. No. Okay.
No, they can exploit from
you
other
just-
countries. Then it just falls harder in these countries. Then at one point they can't exploit anymore.
Okay.
Then what happens?
I don't know.
Where is
man.
your
No,
data coming from? Because like
No,
Nonfon's
he
got
doesn't-
graphs and shit.
No, he doesn't have data. He has materialist
I sent the graph
dialectical
to-
Was that
analysis.
too liberal?
Mr. JC, I sent a graph too. No,
I'm gonna-
why are you taking sample text?
Because I know he can explain it if you really want someone to
No,
explain it.
no.
No?
This
You don't
guy
wanna-
is a Zionist. I don't
Okay.
speak to
Yes,
Zionists.
do you think-
yeah,
wait,
I was gonna
wait, do you
say,
think
we
a
never got to
Zionist-
finish our debate from the other day?
Do you think a Zionist is capable of materialist analysis on the rate of tendency to rate of profit to fall?
Only when it
No,
comes to how many
they're just capable
Palestinians they
of
can make
propaganda.
fall forward.
Wait, so
'Cause they're
wait.
monsters.
How does you would agree that sample is capable of providing, a debunking or an explanation of the tendency to rate of profits to fall, right? That is something that he is capable of doing.
No, he's just capable of doing propaganda for the state of Israel.
He's only capable of doing propaganda for the state of Israel. He is incapable of providing an explanation.
Yes.
So if sample text came here with a full-throated defense of socialism, that would still be like, would you
That would
like
still be
heel
propaganda.
turn and become a capitalist?
No, there are, of course, people who are anti-Zionist in Israel.
Well,
But
wait,
he's
you
not
said
one
he
of
was
them.
spreading Zionist propaganda.
Yes,
not
of
only
course,
that,
because
he's
okay.
only capable of doing so.
Wait, yeah, so like and you're saying that socialists are anti-Zionist, correct?
Of course.
Okay, so then how if sample text came in and like declared his allegiance to socialism, how would that be Zion? Like, is that Zionist or is that anti-Zionist? And would you talk to him?
He would still be a Zionist because he said so. First of all, and second of all, there are a lot of fake socialists.
Wow.
True.
Wait, hold on. Wait, but you would define me as a Zionist too, right?
I don't know. I think you're Zionist.
Zionist adjacent.
what's
I
the
think
word?
that's the word. you're looking
Adjacent. Yes,
for.
adjacent.
Yeah.
Zionist
Yeah.
apologist. Okay.
Adjacent.
Sorry, not
So I am more than I'm not a Zionist. Don't worry. I'm capable of doing at least things that aren't just spreading pro-Israel propaganda. I at least have that capability. So
That's all I
Do you
do.
believe-
So.
We believe the state of Israel has a right to exist.
by now, yeah, I think so.
Do you, Mark Zombie?
No, then
Why
it's-
not? Do you think the state of Palestine has a right to exist?
No, not either. No state has a right to exist.
Oh wait, yeah, we
Okay,
went over
okay,
this.
wait.
Yeah, you have a non-ideology. Got it.
But state of Israel is especially bad because it's, you know what
Wait,
Zionism?
how can it be especially bad if you're against states as a rule?
I'm not against states as a rule. There needs to be a state. or
Oh,
fighting
right. Wait,
counter-revolution.
no, there doesn't need to be a state,
fighting
you
the
fucking
counter
moron. I thought you were a communist. That's
No,
stateless,
no.
classless society, idiot.
Yeah, but
Just to fight
first
the
there needs
counter
to be a
revolution,
state.
okay? In the first phase.
Yes, to fight the counter-revolution.
No, it'll
And
wither
and
away.
then
Oh, got
Don't
it,
worry.
got it.
It'll wither
educate the
away.
masses.
It'll
Mark
wither
Sabi, do you have
away.
a
Yeah, it will
Vanguard
wither away.
party?
Exactly, Nonfon. You read Lenin.
I
You have
did
a
read
Vanguard
Lenin.
party
Yep.
in your utopia?
No, the Vanguard Party will wither away, bro. Don't worry, bro. The authoritarian
give-
party would never
They're just going to be
continue
in power
to
for
exist.
another few years. We only need to control it for another few years, and then we'll have
Exactly.
utopia, guys.
Oh no, it will probably a very long time, few hundred years.
Okay.
Hey, are you in favor of any sort of democracy, Mark Sabi, in your utopia, or is it like strictly authoritarian to enforce the communism?
Yes, of course, it is democracy.
Okay, so would you have like elections?
No.
How is it a democracy?
Because the workers own the means of production, bro.
Elections are anti-democratic, actually, especially in capitalism.
Mhm.
Once capitalism is gone and everything is gone, you can have elections. But it's not even necessary to have elections.
Okay, so
It's just
how would it be
illusion.
democratic
It's just an
then?
illusion. Because if you put the will of the people first, if the party puts the will of the people first, it's democratic.
Okay, but like, how do you determine what the will of the people is?
Well, of course, liberating the people is the will of the people.
Wait, but that's
do
not
you-
what I want. I don't want to be a socialist.
Well, then you're an enemy of the people.
Okay.
Wow, that was easy.
Well, off to the re-education camp, JC.
Yeah, off to the
Yeah.
camps with me, I guess.
I'll be
I mean,
right there
that sounds
with
pretty
you. Can
fucking
we be-
insane. So, like, anybody, I mean, you are just saying, like, anybody who disagrees with, like, the quote-unquote will of the party, you just, like box away.
Not will of the party, will of the people. But
Well,
yes,
yeah, except you're saying that the will of the people isn't always going to align with the will of the party. Every time we've seen communism manifest historically, we've known this to be the case to the point where you dipshits will, like, cope and pretend that's not real communism. I don't know if you're one of
Wait.
those morons, but...
No.
No,
Maybe
yeah,
they've
like,
never
people don't
reached.
know
They've never
what their will
reached
is.
communism, bro. They've never.
yeah,
People
let's be clear. Like, this has been a historical pattern of, like, kill or shut away, like, people that don't abide with the will of the party. It's not the other way around. So
but the people maybe don't know what their will is because they are.
Okay.
oh, okay. Well, it's a good
that's
thing they
why.
have you
That's
to
why
tell
the
them, right?
re-education camps need to exist, bro. That's why we.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. I still don't get how it can be democratic if I don't get a say in like
Yeah,
what's
wait.
going
You
on.
think it? To be clear, you think it's democratic to not have elections and to forcefully put people in re-education camps? That's democratic.
Please
It
say
depends,
yes.
but yes, it can be democratic.
Okay. Okay.
Bro. Oh man.
What?
What do you mean
think it's
what?
democratic to have?
Yeah, you're retarded. You don't know what democracy is. What is democracy? Define democracy.
It's rule of the people.
Okay, rule of the people, and what mechanisms would empower the people to determine that rule?
Party.
Okay. So when I asked you earlier if you were authoritarian, that was a yes. I don't know why you lied to me.
Wait, you never asked me if I'm authoritarian.
Yeah, I straight up did. I said,
I'm
is
pretty
this
sure
a
you did.
democratic communist system or is this authoritarianism to enforce it? And you said democratic. And now we've determined that
It can be
obviously
both.
not. It's
It can
not
be both.
democratic because you can't maintain a democratic state where you're just telling people what they want. That's not what democracy is.
And you think in capitalism they can know what they want?
Don't deflect. This isn't about capitalism. This is about your proposed system.
But it's just a transitional system, and of course the party will do what the people want. And in the end, they have communism, and they don't need elections. Or
It's a
anything
transitional
because-
system in theory, but that theory is never borne out in reality unless it's been forced into practice by opportunistic fascists or authoritarians.
Or it needs to be forced.
Well,
Because
okay,
else
so then
in
how is it
capitalism
like a
creates
natural
power.
progression if you need to force it into ending? Like, how does that make sense?
Okay, it is a natural progression because capitalism will collapse, but you need to organize the revolution before it actually collapses because
If
else
capitalism will collapse, why do you need to take any action to encourage it to collapse?
Yes, I was just explaining this because in the end, the capital owning class realizes they're losing power. They do more fascism. They still lose more power. Then everything collapses. They have anarchy, everything. And before the fascism happens, you need to do the revolution, because else everything will end in chaos. And the revolution needs to be enforced.
So, how will you determine who will lead the revolution?
How will we determine who? Of course, the
Nonfon, what are you playing?
This is
revolution
Schedule 1.
determines it itself.
You haven't seen Schedule 1?
Okay, sorry, Mark Sabi. What did you say? How will you determine?
Revolution determines it itself.
Well,
It's
no,
democratic.
okay. I mean,
doesn't
so
really
like
mean.
in real life though, like how would it, like in our degenerate liberal corrupt capitalistic system that exploits and murders and takes advantage of people, we have elections to determine like who we want leading us and who we want making decisions for us. So like I'm just curious, like how would it, like you think they would just like naturally rise to the top, like these leader figures?
Yes. Like, for
Okay, so
example,
what happens
Lenin.
when they have different ideas on how to lead these leader figures during the revolution?
Well, then the people will get rid of them.
Okay, so who's the people? Because like ostensibly these would be two different groups of revolutionaries with two different leaders that would eventually come into conflict in this like mass revolution worldwide. So like how would we determine who the right person to follow is? This game looks amazing, by the way.
The right person to follow, of course, the person who wants to liberate the people.
Okay, but what if they both
Can
want
be
to
two.
liberate the people?
And they can be both leaders.
Okay, so one of them is a democratic socialist who wants to have an election of like leaders, and one of them is more of like a Marxist, where they, or sorry, a Stalinist, where they want to have like a coalition party that kind of like oversees the needs of the people without elections. Like, how do you determine which one of those people is right?
Well, first of all, democratic socialists don't want to do revolution. And second, you will see with time, maybe they can do it with democracy, but I doubt it, because there will be counter revolutions and everything. They need to have a vanguard party.
Okay, so you said do revolution. You've also said that capitalism will end. So if you're saying capitalism will end, you're saying that like regardless of our outside input, it is going to naturally collapse in on itself. Like I was a socialist. I remember all of this shit. Okay, like that's the
Yes,
theory.
yes.
Is that capitalism's internal contradictions will eventually suffer under the weight of those internal contradictions to the point that society will collapse in on itself. But
Yes.
the intentionality aspect isn't like inciting the revolution. It's taking advantage of the societal collapse that's occurring as a result of the natural degradation of capitalism due to its internal contradictions. So, like, but
Yes.
you're trying to act like, oh, this is something we're going to incite. But, like, if you're inciting
No.
it, that's not really capitalism collapsing under its internal contradictions. That you being pissed at the world and wanting to violently change it. Guess what? You're not the first. And you
No,
won't be
I've
the
already
last.
explained
But
it to you. I told you before that it will not happen from one day to another. The capitalism collapses. It will be slowly, not very slow, but a few years maybe, and then they will have fascism. And before they have fascism, we need to do it. You get it?
I don't recall fascism being a necessary progressive state from capitalism into socialism. It's a theorized one, but there was also the proposal of like an anarchic collapse where it did fold
Yes.
rather quickly.
That's
So,
what I
like, how did
said.
No, that's not what
First,
you said.
yes, okay, I will explain it again. The
How do you have
ru- the
fascism
capital-
rise from anarchy? Fascism
No,
is a
first,
degradation of
you have
liberal
fascism first.
processes.
Okay. The capital owning classes realize that they are losing power because capitalism is dying, and they will cling to power, have fascism, suppress everybody, and then they will still lose power because capitalism is just keeps on collapsing, and then there will be anarchism.
Well, okay, don't you think you're making a pretty broad assumption there that they'll just automatically lose power because capitalism will still suck under fascism? How do you know that it won't improve under fascism to the point where it doesn't collapse? Maybe the contradictions can be solved with an ultra-authoritarian government that maybe spans the world. Have you ever thought of that?
Okay, maybe this is possible, but we still need to have the revolution before fascism happens. Or do you actually like fascism?
No, but you do.
See? No, I don't.
Yeah, you've
Well-
expressly said your support for authoritarian tendencies, which is an important component of fascism, of course. You
But
talk about
fascism
things
is
like,
ideological, not materialist.
okay, I don't know what that
Idealist.
means. It's irrelevant.
Idealist,
So you need authoritarianism to
materialist.
enforce the fascism because fascism has far more internal contradictions than an economic system like capitalism does. And it does collapse rather quickly under its own weight unless you have an authoritarian government, an ultra-authoritarian government to enforce its upkeep. So
Yes, that's why they
yeah,
do it.
yeah, so this would be a government that would, for example, disappear anybody that disagreed with the state line or in your case, the Vanguard Party line. This would be a government that, from the top down, tells you what your role is to serve the state, or in this case, as you say, the people. This would be a government that tells you what your purpose in life is, or in this case, what the will of the people is. Like, you are just a fascist in different colors, and until you realize
No.
that, you're just going to continue to fail to like profit your ideology because that contradiction is blatantly obvious to anybody who spends 5 minutes talking to you.
No, you don't understand it. It's
No, I understand it
fascism is
perfectly. That's the problem. It's like
idealist.
I understand it very well. That's your issue
No,
right now.
you don't.
I understand it too well.
Your issue is that you don't understand that fascism is completely different from communism.
Can you define
Communism is
fascism for me?
materialist. It's militaristic, right-wing, authoritarian government with racism, everything, etc.
Okay, so
And
first of
idealist.
all, no. But second of all, do you consider the Soviet Union to be fascistic? I know the answer is no. I just want to hear you
No.
say it. Okay.
No,
So what distinctifies the Soviet Union from a government like Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany that you say that they are very clearly distinct and not one-in-one fascistic?
first of all, they're left-wing and not right-wing. That means they are materialist and not idealist, like
Oh, should I say the
right-wingers.
funny thing? No, that one's too easy. Gibbs gave me the whole line of argumentation for that if I wanted to use it, but it's a stupid argument. Okay. So one is left-wing and one is right-wing. I don't think that has anything to do with fascism.
Yes, it is.
Why?
Because fascism is defined as a right-wing, authoritarian, militaristic.
Okay, so you just threw a dictionary at my head and I dodged out of the way. I'm going to ask you the same question. Why is fascism right-wing? What about it makes it exclusively right-wing?
You can look at the whole history, how fascism was invented from Hegelianism. Marx was first he was not really idealist, but he was a young Hegelian, and then he became materialist and he dissed the young Hegelians. And fascism actually came from Hegelianism.
Okay, I
and
really
is
like how
idealist.
you're just like not answering his question.
Yeah, sorry if I'm hijacking your stream, by the way, Nonfon.
No. I mean, I got nothing better to do. Don't
What?
worry. I just free
I
content.
answered the question.
No, you didn't. You started rambling
No.
about theory and philosophers. You answer questions. I mean, communists answer questions like Christians sometimes. They just start rambling about like their holy book and their holy men and like what they've said and like without actually addressing the substance of whatever's being asked. So I'll ask you again. I don't know if you're hard of hearing or what the deal is here. Why is fascism only right wing?
Oh, I already explained it to you. Because do you even know what right wing is?
Why don't you tell me?
It's idealist bullshit. They only think idealist, not materialist. And I think
Interesting.
the structures, societal structures should be upheld, like hierarchies, etc., etc.
Who
And
determines
it's
what?
It's awfully
want to have
convenient
flat-
that you managed to
flat
align
society.
yourself in such a way that everyone but you is either fascist or fascist leaning. Isn't that convenient?
No, how would it be convenient? It's really bad. It's really
How do you
it's
define
convenient.
fascism?
it's convenient because if you define your terms as such that every political ideology outside of your own is fascistic or fascistic leaning, then you're trying to do the same thing that the dipshit progressive. Wait, I'm not done. You're trying to do the same thing that dipshit progressives have done for the past like decade, which is call everything they disagree with Nazi, to demonize it automatically because nobody wants to be a Nazi, nobody wants to be a fascist. So by automatically just saying, well, everybody who's not is a fascist. It's convenient. It makes your argument sound a lot more palatable than it is because, honestly, again, as I pointed out to you in multiple ways, you're ideologically indistinguishable.
Wait, guys, wait, hold on. Pick a
fascist
suit. Pick a card suit. Pick a hearts, diamonds, club.
Spades.
Oh, fuck you guys with
Spades.
hearts. Anyway.
I was gonna say hearts, but your stream is so
I'm on a
delayed.
stream delay. Yeah, I'm on a stream delay, and
Well, I asked
I'm
you
making
in
fun
VC.
of,
You don't need to.
You gotta wait, dude.
What do you mean I gotta wait? I asked you to name one.
I'm gonna hijack this conversation. I know we're talking about random definitions of fascism and how people that I don't like are
Please hijack
fascist.
it. Please
I'm bullying a Marxist. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, you know, from some people's perspectives, a Marxist would be a fascist. So it all depends on your definition.
Most
of
reasonable
fascism.
people's perspectives, yes.
No, that's from a definition that's just stupid. They just say you're a fascist. They just
I
define
think your
how they want.
definitions are stupid.
Call
Can
left-wing
Marx, can you define fascism or what? Sorry, not fascism.
Oh,
Can you define
I
a
already defined
fascist?
Yes, a fascist is a person who likes fascism.
Okay,
Can you define fascism without using right wing in your definition?
It's not possible.
Okay.
So I can just use idealist. It's a idealist ideology.
What is idealism?
That's communism right there. That's an ideology. Okay.
Hold on.
Idealist.
Don't jump
Communism
too
is
far ahead.
materialist. That's exactly what Marx. That's the main point of Marxist thing.
Wait, how is capitalism not
Related to
materialist?
materialism. How is capitalism not materialist? Because it's based
Yeah, it's
on
literally about the allocation
liberalism.
of capital for like the profit, for gaining profit, which is like material
but-
benefit.
It's a different. Yeah, but I mean materialist in a philosophical sense.
Capitalism is the most materialistic philosophy that exists.
No, you don't understand. It's
No.
idealist because you can imagine that you'll make a lot of money.
That too. Granted, you can imagine you make a lot of wealth in any economic system. but
Yeah, you can make a
capitalism
lot of
is-
money as a member of a vanguard party and a communist.
but, obviously, capitalism is
No.
the most materialistic economic philosophy
Yeah, I can't believe
of
you
anything.
said-
No, it's not.
No, it's
you misunderstand. You use it in a what's it called? In the wrong sense. I mean, materialist in the philosophical sense.
Go on.
Okay. So capitalists believe that their ideas are more important than material world. You get it?
No,
based,
I would disagree with that claim from the get-go.
The whole liberalism is based on Kant and this whole bullshit up to Hegel, whatever. And Marx came in and said, your bullshit is all wrong. We will have
I mean,
communism.
You haven't read.
I've already
Capital.
disagreed from your first definition, where you're saying capitalism is more like
Right, you
thought
can
than
just admit that,
materialistic.
right? Like you've never read Capital. You just heard about it on the internet.
No, I actually read it. And I saw that you people don't read it.
Then how is it that you can't explain it beyond Marx came in and said you are done with all that bullshit?
There wasn't even in Capital. There was critique of the German philosophy.
Okay,
But
which
again,
parts?
that
German
Also-
ideology.
Also, I'm sorry, but Marx definitely believed that capitalism would collapse under its own internal contradictions and descend into a state of anarchy. He didn't think that fascism
Yes.
would rise from that, did he?
Yeah,
I
that's
do not think
what
so.
Lenin. That's what Lenin brought up.
No. Okay, but that's not Marx.
Wait, hold on. We
Yeah,
we
Lenin,
proved that you
he-
haven't read
he-
Marx,
he
right?
claimed it
Remember
was
me
the-
and Sample were talking to you.
Wait,
And you-
wait, you have? Wait, did you lie to me?
hang on. Before Nonfon, keep your point. Put your point in your head. Write it down so
I'm
you
gonna
know
push
what
this-
you're going to ask.
Okay.
Write it down so you know your point you're going to ask. Because I'm going to ask a question.
All right.
All right, Marx. I'm going to ask
Bro?
you. What is your opinion of the genocides that the USSR committed against Chechnya natives and against the Crimea, I don't know how to pronounce it, Tatars?
Tartars.
And then, what's your opinion on the KGB? Was it a morality police looking to enforce a conservative morality, or was that like what's your take on all that?
I don't even know anything about this.
You don't know any of those topics.
No, I don't know. When did this happen? If it's
Dollars, the guy in chat. Never ask him like a few questions.
goes up, obviously.
I don't morally superior vegan. Sorry, hi, I'm Big JC. I'm a libtard like Nonfon. I don't know if we met. I don't like. How familiar are you with like these like far lefty types? Because like they don't think that like, especially like some of the like the more like rhetorically savvy ones won't own the Soviet Union as like true communism. They'll say they like started on a good path but never quite got there.
My knowledge
exactly.
of far lefties are if they're vegan or not, and if they're not vegan, then they're absolutely morally incompatible with their own ideology. And then if they are vegan, they're pretty fucking based. And they're just left wing.
Well, we can debate about anything but
No,
veganism anytime you want.
If you're just left wing, you're not a real vegan.
Okay.
You can be left wing and not vegan.
You're not even left wing by your own admission.
you're
You're
not left-wing.
if you're a authoritarian and you're a fascist, then you're right wing because you seem to insist that that's part of the
I'm not a
definition.
fascist.
But you are.
You're
You
a
said that you
fascist.
support things that are like tenets of fascism. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you can support one tenant, but I don't support the basics.
Here.
He
Wait, hold
only
on.
supports 9 of the 10 tenets of
Wait, do you
fascism.
think?
Yeah.
Just
Well,
not
what's it? Umberto, isn't that his name?
Umberto?
I don't even use
Marxabi.
this definition, but I think it'd be really funny if like we just scroll through these. The cult of tradition. So this is the constant appealing to. This is Umberto Eco's 14 points of fascism. Constant appealing to like Marx and Lenin and all of these failed idiotic communist movements.
That's
that
nothing
never
to do with
succeeded.
tradition.
The
You don't
rejection of
understand what
modernism.
tradition is.
So this is the idea that like capitalism, which is
No.
the engine of like productivity and innovation for the past
It's
several
not.
hundred years. The idea that like somehow this is a failure and we need to return to a more agrarian communistic state. The cult of
still don't
action
get
for
that it's
action's sake.
materialist
See, this is
and
where
not
I was saying
idealist.
like, oh, the revolution. Yeah, shouldn't the revolution kind of come about as a result of the collapse? And he's like, no, we have to initiate the collapse. Disagreement is treason. Well, non-fun.
What?
We already know that disagreement is treason, don't we now? Fear of difference. Yeah, you're probably afraid of basically any political ideology that's different than you. That's why you have to imprison or kill anybody who disagrees with you when you guys come to power. Appeal to a frustrated middle class. How do you feel about the middle class, Marxabi? Did you say
Middle
that
class is
the
made
will
up.
of the people, they really want to be free or whatever, they really want to agree with you, right?
You
Middle
were
class
telling
is
me earlier the
liberal,
middle class is
made
failing
up
and real
bullshit.
wages are going down and everything like
Okay,
that.
okay. So
So
appealing to a frustrated middle class, sure. Obsession
Outside.
with
I
a
said middle class doesn't exist.
obsession with a
Middle class does
plot.
not
Yeah,
exist.
because you probably do the bourgeoisie and the proletariat like divide, but that's
Exactly.
also retarded. Okay,
just
okay.
made
So
up the
so a
middle
middle
class.
manager and like a middle manager in a corporation, what are they? Bourgeoisie or proletariat?
A middle manager in a what?
Yeah, middle manager.
Has your own capital, a big capital, like a whole factory or something.
Like a corporation, like Apple. Like a regional manager
Yes, of
for
course
Apple.
he's bourgeoisie. If he owns Apple, he's bourgeoisie. Yes.
Okay, so he doesn't own Apple. He's a high up executive that works for Apple. How much does he have to make in your mind before he becomes bourgeoisie? Don't say anything, either of you.
It just doesn't matter how much he makes. It matters
Okay.
if he owns means of production or not. And in a big number,
So
not
if an
just
Apple
like
employee
two
owns
stocks or
shares,
something.
if an Apple employee, like a
No,
factory
that doesn't-
worker, if they own shares in Apple,
how many shares?
why does that matter?
Because nowadays even the proletariat have some shares.
So the bourgeoisie is only someone who owns controlling shares in a corporation. Okay, that's retarded.
Yes. yes. And how-
Obsession
how
with
is
a
that
plot. This is point number 7, and the hyping up of an enemy threat. So this is like anybody who isn't a communist is like dangerous. The West is evil. Fascist societies rhetorically cast their enemies as at the same time too strong and too weak.
What?
Oh, I'm
think you're
I'm
tripping,
just like listing off like Umberto Eco's 14 points of fascism
Wait, hold
and
on.
explaining why you have paralleled all of these points. Like I don't have to keep
No.
going, but
Real
you're
quick.
I literally
definitely a
told you why I
fash, bro.
haven't.
Real quick, do you
I only
think that...
found one that is correct.
Wait, just real quick. Do you think that
Fire.
giving your video editor a graphics card is making them own the means of production?
True.
No.
True.
Okay.
How would
So,
this
what do
be
you- wait.
owning the means of production?
No, it's just funny because Hassan said that his editor owns the means of his production because he gave he gave his editor a
Oh my God,
graphics
you
card,
don't understand humor.
which
No,
is literally
that's
just
not understanding
providing them capital. But it's like,
It's just humor. You're like
Right.
Ethan Klein. You take Hassanabi's jokes and take them serious.
he was not joking when he said that.
Do I?
Wait,
do
so
I
when
need
Nick
to?
to-
Fuentes is
joking.
talking about 6 million cookies, is
was
that
not
a
joking.
joke or is that serious?
I don't
Mark
even know.
Tommy.
Can you give the whole quote? Or can
So
you give the...
do you know who Nick Fuentes is?
Yes. He's a
Okay,
fascist.
so like there's a bit, kind of an infamous bit from his show where he's talking about how could you bake 6 million cookies when you don't have enough ovens to bake that many cookies? How long would it take to bake 6 million cookies if you only had this many ovens? Like obvious, reference to the Holocaust, but which
Yes, very-
I'm assuming you
very
believe in. So like, is that a joke or is that him being serious?
It's a joke, but it's a stupid joke.
Okay, so that Nick Fuentes is like the ultimate shit test because Nick Fuentes is obviously being serious. Like that's the entire point that he's not relevant on the internet anymore is because everybody figured that out. Everybody figured out, like Sam Hyde, that he's not really joking about any of the shit that he talks about. So I can't believe that you would just openly say, no, it's a joke. Like you would greenlight and
of
co-sign
course.
people like Nick Fuentes. They would be able to get their rhetoric past you and you would be like none the wiser, which does make sense. You are obviously not that bright. You are in fact a socialist.
Bro, it's a joke because he said cookies. I don't say it's a joke that he doesn't deny the Holocaust.
Okay,
I just
but
say
like,
that he uses
okay,
cookies
so
as an analogy.
rhetorically, why is he saying that then? I'll rephrase it. Rhetorically,
Because
is
he
he
wants to
saying
deny
that
the
to make a
Holocaust.
joke or is he saying that to make a point?
Yeah, to make a point, of course. But he
Okay.
says cookies. That's kind of humoristic that he used the word cookies.
So one of the jokes that Hassan supposedly made was the owning of this swastika sword, right? When
no
that was
joke.
like brought prominent front and center for the pictures that were taken of like iDubbbz and Hassan's like little dipshit friend crew, was that a joke or was that making a point?
It was neither. He didn't even own it because it has a swastika. He just owned it because he liked bleach.
Why do you call it the
Want to, like,
swastika
a bleach?
sword?
Yeah, he called it a swastika sword because
Yeah, but why?
he just saw that it has a swastika. Why he called it that? Because it has a kanji thing that
It's
looks like
Ichigo
swastika.
Kurosaki's second generation katana. Like that's the one that he uses after it stops looking like the big razor blade. Okay, as someone who used to read Bleach way back in fucking like junior high,
Can I
like
derail
why would
the
he not call it
conversation?
that?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
before
please.
before you
You think he owns
derail,
Because it has a swastika.
Before I derail, Nonfon.
yeah, just real quick. You admit that like last time I talked to you, at least me and Sample talked to you, at least. I've clicked the wrong fucking thing. You had not read Marx, right? Like maybe I don't know. Maybe you've read a ton since
No,
then.
I have read Marx. I told
Okay,
you. I have
Do
read
you have
but
a
you were
clip,
not
Nonfon? I saw
able
you
to
clicking
answer. I mean,
around.
people can watch the video I sent in general. I can send to my like Twitch chat too. Like you were not able to answer basic questions about Marx. Do you think if I ask the same questions now, you'll be able to answer them? Or
Oh my god, please do.
No,
That
those
would
are
be
not
such
even
a good
questions
follow-up
about
video.
Marx.
they're not even questions?
Those were not even questions about
Okay,
Marx.
I'll bet
They were.
$100.
Those are just
They
some
were
weird,
questions about
econ bro
Marx.
questions. No, they were not. You didn't even ask what are the means of production or something like this.
We literally asked you, like, I can go back and look at the exact questions. It was like, how does Marx define profit? And you were not able to answer those.
Law of value.
In Bleach, the Quincy's were supposed to be the Jews.
So fall one. What were the other ones? I think there was one other one I knew, but I think the rest
What's
of
the
them I
equation
didn't.
for the rate of profit?
I think I demonstrated my point. I'm gonna go now. I'm kind of thirsty. I'm gonna fill my body. No, it's always fun. Either way, I'm good. Either way, not fun. You still lost. That's a good say. Bro, you're
yeah,
right.
but Marx
You're
wrote about
right,
the
bro.
tendency of the rate of profit.
Awesome,
No,
bro.
moneyless?
Awesome. We're so when I say I'll bet, when I say you,
No. Wait. You have
Yeah,
to
non-fun. This is fun. This has been fun. I think I lost enough brain cells. Okay, just I believe you. What's the difference between real and nominal?
in the action.
Yeah, then it's a stupid measurement. What are the components of it? What is it made of?
Not memorize it.
Well,
Fuck, where do we ask him the
just
first
a few
question?
simple questions. Anyone who gave a careful study of Capital 2 should be able to answer. And I'm super curious. You there
No.
for one?
Ah.
Yeah. Well, what's the Marx you read front to back? I'm just super curious.
What? Oh wait, I need to
You said-
mute the stream.
What?
How many marks?
All of it?
Sure.
What's the equation for the rate of profit under Marx?
The equation for the rate of profit.
Yeah.
Just the work divided by the.
Wait, what's the equation for the rate of profit from Marx?
Nonfon. I told you I don't want to answer econ bro questions.
There's not. Wait, hold on, Mark. Have you read Capital?
That was an econ bro
Yes,
question.
of course.
Okay, so
No,
if you read
no,
Capital, you should be
no.
able to answer that question. But you can't answer that
All right,
question.
what's non-fond? Do you know
Can-
about physics?
Well,
Can
I
you
don't know.
name
No, I
every
don't.
formula from every book that you ever read?
Nope. But
So deflection instead of answering. That's definitely not a defensive tactic. Why
Hang
can't
on,
you just answer the question?
All right, I'm not a Marxist, but I'll side with Marx on this particular point.
Why? Why would you side with him on this particular point? So
Because
this is
it's-
a reference, by the way, to a
Logic,
question that
every
Nonfon
logic
already
people,
asked him that he didn't know the answer to.
Realizes
I guess I wasn't there for that. I was
Yeah.
gonna say I was gonna counter with, okay, what's the kinematic equation
well,
to you
no,
guys?
it's exactly
And
the
obviously you're not gonna know.
I don't claim to have read
What
all of
relevance
physics.
is? Yeah.
No, it's more so like name this equation.
Yes.
No. Okay, hold on. Like
Yes,
Nonfon
it is.
just said, morally superior vegan. We're not sitting over here claiming to like have knowledge in physics and have read all of like kinematic equation like bullshit. Okay, Marx Hobby is the one who's saying, "Oh, I've read Marx. And this is a pretty basic, fundamental idea to like economic analysis as well as like Marx's economic philosophy, especially when we're talking about like the theory of labor. So like I'm not like there is a point to him asking this, like
Wait, hold on.
So
Mark,
Marx,
No,
with
there's
that in
no
mind,
point.
what's the labor theory of value? You gotta know that one. You gotta know that one, right?
thank you. That was what I was trying to think of.
Non-fun. I already told you. I don't want to answer these questions.
Wait, are you kidding me? You don't know that one?
He just Ethan, you're crazy to you.
I do
Nonfon,
know
you're
these
delusional. You're crazy,
wait.
Nonfon.
Mark,
Wake
do
up.
you know the answer to that question, or
Yes.
can you answer it?
No, I don't. I won't answer it.
You've
You
had
won't.
enough
Oh my
time to
God.
Google
Okay.
it at this point. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I had enough time to Google it, but why would I answer it?
Because it would prove to me that you've
Let me-
read at least a little bit of Marx.
let me know when I can
don't wanna
derail.
prove it.
Let me know when I can derail.
Just go ahead, derail. I mean, he's not gonna.
All right. Oh yeah, boys, let's go. All right, Marx, are you a leftist?
Yes, radical leftist.
How do you define leftist? Like, what does that mean to you? Yeah, your definition.
Okay, it means materialist and that you want to have a flat order of society.
A flat order of society. Can you define that to me? Pretend I don't know any of those terms. Well, a flat order of society.
How can you define it? That you want everybody to have same rights, equal, everything. Equality.
So equality amongst people. How would you define people? Like, who would get these rights?
Everybody, every person.
Every person.
Yes.
Would you give any animals personhood?
Yes.
Oh, what animals would you give personhood to?
Oh, this is a difficult question.
It is indeed.
Is it a difficult question if you said yes immediately? Did you not have animals in mind?
Or
Well, maybe not
which
I don't know
animals?
if, Which animals? Well, of
Bro,
course,
he is
all
this guy's such
mammals.
a bullshitter. Oh my god.
All
Yes,
mammals.
non-human animals. So
Yes, all
biologically
mammals.
speaking,
Okay, of course, all mammals.
all
That's
mammals,
given. Yes,
all mammals should be given rights.
and more. There's more. Fish,
Okay.
birds, and what? Octopus and this stuff.
So
Cephalopod. But maybe I don't know if I would give to insects, but
pretty much all animals except insects.
yeah, I don't. Okay, insects too. Every animal.
You're
Okay.
including insects as well. Okay. Do you consume animal products? Like, do you eat chicken
no,
and
no.
steak?
No.
You don't.
No.
Do you drink milk or consume eggs?
No, it's animal product.
This man's a fucking based Chad. And everybody here's bashing on him for being absolute top tier. Dude, I'm on fucking Mark's AV side. Man's a vegan. He's done it. He is a leftist vegan. He lives to his ideals. I cannot fault him for that. Can anyone here stand up to that claim? He's a leftist. He thinks it is wrong to exploit those that are lesser.
I mean, I have been mostly
The
vegan
man's a
today.
legend. Yes, you've eaten vegan today, but you had to make the qualifier today specifically for some reason.
I'm
Instead of
working
just
on it.
saying that I'm vegan, which
Working
would
on it, working
imply a lifelong.
I'm working on it.
You got to make the step. Final step. Come on, Nonfon. Come on, Nonfon.
I know.
All right, so Marx is actually based. I'm on his side here. I'll take a lefty vegan any day of the week, no problem. All right, my derail has not gone as far as I was thinking it was go, because I didn't think Marx was as based as he actually is. That's my statement. Marx is very clearly based,
Yes.
and I wasn't able to get him. Grand,
Yeah,
that's a cheesy question. I'm not going to ask that.
You want to ask about plants and mushrooms?
Oh,
sure.
there was
You eat-
hold on. There was a question from Grandin Eisenjoy earlier,
We have to
which
eat
he
them.
really wants me to ask. It was like, do you think centralized power is a fundamental flaw in socialism?
No.
Crazy. Do you want to explain for him a little bit?
Yes, I already explained it because there will be counter-revolutionaries and there needs to be centralized power to protect the revolution.
There you go, buddy.
All I gotta say is I'm surprised. I am genuinely surprised that I thought Marx would not be a vegan, and then he is. And then my whole derailment was just gone. It's gone. He subverted expectations. A true
not a-
legend.
I'm not
That's
a
the only
vegan, but
problem with
my ethical
Hassan
system
Abi.
prioritizes human experience. Am I unethical?
Hold on, real quick.
Uh,
Just, Mark, do you
what's-
think it's still fair for you to say that I'm scared to debate communists or whatever when I have now had 3 different conversations with you, despite you being an
Wait, have you
annoying
debated an
little
actual
shit?
communist?
I've debated. Yeah, I mean, I've debated him. I've
Yeah,
debated.
but you only brought up these weird gotcha questions like what is the definition of GDP or something.
That's definitely.
Why do you think he asked you those questions?
Because he doesn't have any substantial arguments.
Don't you think we at least had a substantial argument today, or do you think that's
No,
no? Okay.
because you
guys
didn't even
you guys seem
understand
like you were
the
going
basics.
for like a while.
Yeah, we had a
Yeah, that's
quite-
true. You know what? Once again, I'll stick with Marx here. Well, sorry. You know what? I needed to rethink that statement. Marx, he was willing to talk to you for about an hour and a half. And
Can I talk to
You
you?
even
you
know
can-
the difference.
you can say that you don't like what his argumentation was about, but he was willing to talk to you in the first place. A number of people I know that debate people online will straight up just refuse to interact with people of a diametrically opposed position. Nonfon has talked to you. You might not like how he's like the points he's brought up, but he's still entertaining you. He's still bringing you in. He still is listening to what you say, and he'll bring it to whatever point. Which I think is fair.
You acknowledge I've done this after you repeatedly spam stuff in my chat. You said the N-word in my server.
You did spam a lot. Yeah, you did spam a lot. That's to be fair. You know, Nonfon is actually much more willing than most. I forgot what Big JC was going to ask me. About
I don't understand why he's a liberal. So
because he's intelligent.
I feel like
that
I
might be why
explained
it's
it to you,
confusing to you.
I mean,
No,
liberals
it's not.
average IQ of 80, but that's just the average. That's just the.
What's the average IQ of a communist? 60. So what?
79.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Based.
no.
Nonfon, have you reacted to the Hassan Ethan debate?
Yeah, I watched it live. Yeah.
Okay. What was your conclusion? What did you think about
I
it?
feel like Ethan did pretty well. I think Ethan kind of focused on things that, you know, if not entirely dumb, obviously I think made it easy for him to be painted as kind of crazy, like the swastika sword and everything. Like I think focusing on that in the first hour was probably a mistake. But I think like the last 3 hours of debate for sure, like Ethan was doing really well. Like I think Ethan.
Do you think the last 3
clearly made
hours
his
were
son.
good? I think the last 3 hours it was just Hassan like screaming and Ethan not really being able to get through.
Well, good for I mean, good as in made like Hassan look bad. I don't know if it's the maximum you could have made Hassan look bad, but yeah,
I think to a normal person, he looked pretty bad.
Yeah,
That's what
I think like especially if you know, at least like if you just know a little bit, if you know that like, you know, Iraq has laws that are like discriminatory against Jewish people or whatever, then like watching Hassan say like Jews have a right to return to Iraq, it's like, okay, dog, like you're a little like that's a little unhinged. Or if you just know, even if you just know that like at the very least it's pretty contentious whether Plan D was like the ultimate like planned like ethnic cleansing was the goal plan. You know, it's pretty dumb to watch Hassan say like, oh, Israel literally had Plan D, which was like the written up, drawn up plan to kill all the Palestinians. All of it. It's like, that's not like,
Yeah. And I think like after I watched it, I thought it was so crazy because even at the end, after the whole debate, Hassan still tried to find a way to call Ethan a Zionist. He was always like, yeah, and I know you think it's a genocide and you hate the Israeli government and you think like building Israel was a mistake, but you know, because you said this and this and this, you're still a Zionist. And I think that to me is crazy. They are both aligned on most points regarding Israel, and he's still trying to make him look like a Zionist. What is the What is the only thing that could then in Hassan's eyes make Ethan a Zionist? It's not his points. It's not his arguments. That's the only thing is he's Jewish.
It's kind of like the new Nazi for like progressives, I feel. It's
Yeah.
like the new like thought terminating.
But the only thing in Hassan's mind that could make Ethan a Zionist is that he's a Jewish person, and he's saying he's not an anti-Semite. What the fuck? Like,
well, see, it's anti-Zionist. There's an important distinction.
What?
Ali is gonna. I'm gonna go after him harder the next time we talk about that, because like, yeah, I remember Nonfon, you were in there for that. Like, I was one.
Yeah, a little
side,
bit. Yeah.
I was way more moderate than I am like now. Now I'm like full blown. No, fuck this shit. Like, we need to start drawing lines here. Because I agree with what Ophelia is saying. Like, at a certain point,
Ophelia,
like,
you're so clueless. Ethan is a
everything
Zionist.
else.
He's literally married to the Raider of Ramallah. Holy fucking shit! Is that the most retarded?
Does Ela know she has such a badass name? Holy shit!
Oh god!
Yeah.
I know. First of all, wait, yeah. First of all, based. Second of all,
Imagine you sitting in a car and not even getting outside the car and just waiting for your colleagues, and then years later you're gonna have the name just because of that, because you
I
sat
know.
in a car.
But also, like,
That's
what
crazy.
level of association is, like, first of all, married to a girl who went on a raid in Ramallah one time? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus, like, that's enough to make you, like, a Zionist or whatever? Like, Jesus, man.
Well,
And we don't even know. We don't. Wait, we don't even know.
because
Yeah, I
one
know.
Jewish
Yeah.
guy kind of owned a ship.
We don't even know who they arrested.
Yeah,
Like,
that
it
thing
is
was
entirely
also
possible
fucking
they,
unhinged. The thing
Yeah.
with the ship
dude,
that it
and
was
the Anne
that
Frank.
it was Israeli owned.
Anne Frank is the freedom fighter.
That was
Yeah,
the
I
most
know. If Anne
dumbass
Frank had
fucking-
resisted, and
Okay, but if Anne Frank was like flying in on a what are they called, paragliders or whatever it was? I mean, that book would have been a lot.
if she had a
better,
sick
okay?
fucking paraglider,
It would have been a lot more
Uh-huh.
If she
exciting. I
raped
don't know
like
about
10
better.
people,
I would have paid attention to that book. They shouldn't arrest anyone in foreign territory. So Marx, Abe, I think there is the argument I would make is that it's likely that the occupation in the West Bank was lawfully created in self-defense, and the occupying power does have a right to seek legitimate interest in the occupation, including national security interest. There is a framework for this under international law. Not that you have ever read about it. But like even if I conceded that it was to some extent illegal under international law or whatever, I don't know. I feel like very clearly it could be morally justified to like arrest an actual fucking terrorist who.
Nonfon is more Zionist than me. Holy shit.
I think I told you that.
Damn.
Wait,
okay.
wait. What did I say? What did I say that's more Zionist than?
I
You
don't
would
know.
probably go off.
I personally don't defend the West Bank settlements.
Oh, I don't think the
he's
settlements are
defending the
justified.
legal
I think
argument.
I'm defending them because this guy. First of all,
You talking
Mark
about the
Zarbi,
fuzzy
if
legality?
you want to join the law, if you want to join the VC real quick, you can, Mark.
Oh God,
Mark,
I asked him. To. I was
Jesus,
like, you can just join the call.
I know,
Save you
yeah.
time.
But I'm just defending like it's not. I don't think it's necessarily illegal. I think there are complex arguments that you can make. Marx Avi is not capable of making those arguments that it is illegal. But there's a paper I read on it a while ago called "Can an occupation created from self-defense ever become illegal?" So there's arguments that you can make that like if the occupying power seeks illegitimate interest, which would include the settlements, not only are the settlements themselves illegal, but the occupation itself becomes illegal. And there's other people who reply to that saying like, no, the settlements can be illegal, but the occupation itself can still remain legal, and you can still seek a legitimate interest in negotiating the end of the occupation and protecting your national security within the occupation. But then it's also probably a hard. Presumably you could.
Do you feel like
maybe.
Do you feel like a lack of occupation in the West Bank, in lieu of like military monitoring along the border, would lead to like substantial enough threats that could justify the West Bank settlements?
The settlement is. So what do you mean settlement? It's the settlements. I don't think could be. So the settlements, as in like building Israeli towns, I don't think so. I could at least. I don't think I have a strong opinion on necessarily like what Israel. Yeah, that's fucked. Yeah, obviously that's fucked up. Yeah. And I think there's even. I think like even the. They might have a right to have some checkpoints, but the issue is I think part of the reason they need checkpoints is to protect the settlers that they put there. So it's like. So it's like if you didn't
have a right to put settlers there.
No, I don't think they have a right to put settlers there. So it's like it'd be hard for me to like draw up.
I'm really tired. I'm sorry. I was just curious.
No, you're good. Yeah, it'd be hard for me to draw up exactly like. Do I think it's justified to protect people that you put in danger illegally? And it's like I don't know exactly where I would draw the line on that, but I think you could argue the occupation itself is legal and they have a right to maintain the occupation and maybe even have some checkpoints for national security purposes. But
is the argument, like you said, where it's based off of like a self-preservation interest?
I forget the exact rules,
Hey,
but
Marx Abbey is
in the waiting room.
Okay. I'm gonna go to bed. Good
Nonfon,
night,
you are
everyone.
a Zionist.
Really, it was nice to meet you, Isaac. Nonfon. Have a wonderful evening.
Good as
You are
always, JJ.
Zionist.
Good night.
And Mark Sabi,
See ya,
you're
JC.
a fascist.
You are fascist.
Oh, wait, hold
I
on.
also
Mark-
have to go, Nonfon. It's been good. To see if you actually If you were just memeing for the stream, or if you actually do, text me after stream. Okay, we'll talk. I'm gonna go to bed.
About what?
Stay
Oh,
safe,
about
everyone.
meeting
Love you,
tomorrow?
everyone. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're a Zionist
See ya.
Nonfon.
I don't think I would necessarily reject that label, because I think I've already told you that I do believe Israel has some right to exist at least, but I think like
That's just wrong.
that's not really relevant to the
It's
conversation that we were having before,
Genocidal and
right?
fascist. Yes, it is.
Okay. No.
I just want to
we
tell
we
you
were
that you're
discussing
genocidal, fascist,
my channel.
ethnostate.
My channel is what?
Not your channel.
Wait, hold on.
You person.
Hold on. Do you want to defend the point that Israel should never arrest someone in foreign territory, or do you just not care about that point anymore?
Yes. Exactly. They
Okay.
shouldn't arrest anybody. They shouldn't even exist as a state.
Okay. Well, then I
What do you
guess you
think
can
should
make that
happen to
argument.
them?
I guess.
What do you
if you
think
don't
should
think
happen
they
to
should
the state of
exist.
Israel?
The state of Israel, it should be dissolved.
What do you mean when you say dissolved? Because it's there, you know. And you can
Yes,
say,
it's
yeah,
there,
okay,
and
it's a
it
bad
should be
thing that it's
dissolved.
there, but now it's there. What do you want to do to dissolve it?
Well, they should give a right of return to the Palestinians and take out the law. What's the law called that specifies the state of Israel as a Jewish state?
As a Jewish
should-
majority state?
No, as a Jewish state.
No, it's not a
You don't
Jewish
know the
state.
law?
It's a Jewish majority state. Yes.
No, it's a law. It's their law.
Yeah.
The law
What did
defines
the right to
Israel
return the basic
as a
law?
Jewish
Like,
state.
what do you?
Yes, the basic law. It should
Okay,
retract-
so
Yeah,
so
I mean,
so you grant all Palestinians the right of return.
Yes.
Where do all the Palestinians go
to where they
inside of
want,
Israel?
wherever they want.
Wherever they
Wherever they
want.
Exactly.
So they buy property, or what do they do?
They get property and they need to get their property back.
Oh, so the places where Jewish people are living, so they can just say, okay, this was my house, and then where
Yes.
do the Jewish people go?
Yeah, they can build a new house.
A new house? Where?
where?
Yeah, where they find space.
Defense space? What?
Where they find space.
In a
They
defined
find
space?
space.
No, where they find space. Where they
Oh,
find
where
it.
they find space. Oh, but
Yes.
do you think it might be a problem that after after the Palestinians left the territories in Israel that they now want to return to, after they left and they became refugees, and then they had
Yes.
children, so now these children also have a right of return, and maybe they had children as well. So it's now way more people than were actually than actually left Israel way before. So
Well,
it's
it's enough
now way
space.
more people than before.
It's
Where
enough
do they all
space in
go?
Israel. It's enough space in Israel.
Okay, and
space.
then
There's
Israel
money.
becomes a Jewish minority state because it's way more.
No. It becomes a regular state. No state with any.
Hold on, wait, no, you have to
any
acknowledge in
religious
this state. No, you have to acknowledge in this state Jewish people would be a minority. You have to. That's like you obviously have to acknowledge that, right?
It doesn't matter if what is the minority or majority. It's
Yeah, I get that.
No,
Normally,
you think
yeah,
no,
usually it's not a problem. But do you know what happened to all Jewish people in all surrounding Arab states when they were a minority?
nothing. They lived there for thousands of years in peace.
And what happened after
they
1,000 of years in peace? Then after
then
Islam
they
kind of
invented
came.
Zionism. What? What you say? When Islam came, they already lived in peace when Islam was around. They only had war when Zionism came.
Who programmed
well, yeah.
The Zionist state programmed them.
who? The
The
Zionists
Palestinians. Yes, the Zionist.
programmed Jewish people in Iran?
No. They programmed the Palestinians.
No, but I mean,
That's not
even
what- no,
before
no.
that, even before,
Yeah.
like,
Before that, they had the Stern Gang and other gangs and other terrorists. Zionist
Wait,
terrorists.
do you think?
since
Do you think?
18
Hold on. Do you think even a single Jew was forced out of an Arab state in like in at least somewhat analogous
Before
way
Zionism or after?
before it doesn't
Both.
matter. I don't know why. Yeah.
You know
Well,
when
of course,
Zionism? You know when Zionism became like a thing?
Yes, 1880 something or something.
Oh wait. Wow.
All right.
1887.
Wait, can you answer the question? Do you think either before or after Zionism? And we need to answer for both. Do you think
Yes.
any Jews were kicked out of any Arab nation non-voluntarily, or sorry, non-voluntarily, forcefully? Like,
It's not. It doesn't matter what I think. It's matter what the facts are.
Yeah, what is the
well,
fact?
I'm asking what you think the facts are, dumbass.
But I think the facts are is that probably yes, some of them were kicked
Okay.
out.
Some of them.
Okay.
Okay. And what, like, why were they kicked out?
There are a number of reasons why.
And what are the reasons? Tell me, like, 3.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know any reasons.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason is because they were Jewish.
Yeah, but that's not the reason why they were kicked out. The reason would be on the other side.
What other side?
Well, just because you are Jewish doesn't mean you get automatically kicked out. It needs to be a reason.
I
the
mean,
people
that was
not
kind of the
kick you out.
thing. It was all
Yeah.
Jewish people who were kicked out, so that kind of must be related.
Not necessarily, but why are the people on the other side? They need to have a reason too. It can't be just one side has a reason and you're automatically kicked out.
Wait. No,
Needs
you would
to
never.
be
No.
somebody who
You would
kicks
never.
you out.
You would never apply that same logic to the Israelis had a reason to kick out the Palestinians. You would never apply that same logic.
Of course I did. Of course I did.
So what would be the
said
reasons
the
for the
reason-
Israelis
Okay,
to
wait,
kick out the
wait.
Palestinians?
Have you ever read Zionism? What Zionism is? They want to have an ethno state.
We're familiar
Jewish
with what
ethno state.
Zionism is.
Yes. and
Wait, but
they wanna
you
have an
never
ethno
said
state.
it's a justified reason, right? That's not obviously not a justified reason.
No, it's not justified.
So would you say the Arab states had a justified reason for kicking out the Jews for the pogroms?
No, of course not.
Okay.
They didn't do programs. What are you saying?
Okay.
No?
So wait, hold on. You already admitted that you
Do you think
at
Jewish
least some
people were
Jews...
killed?
What?
Do you think Jewish people were killed in the Arab states?
Ever?
Yeah. I mean,
Of
because
course,
they were
everybody
Jewish.
was killed. Because they were Jewish? I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Okay. wait. I'm just Wait, Marx. I just want you to defend the. What's your justification for saying that occupation itself is illegal?
In which also the whole occupation is illegal. Yes.
Well, yeah. What's the
But why?
justification for you saying that? I'm just yeah. What's the basis
What's
for
the
that? I'm just-
justification?
what's the
Well, my
basis for you?
justification is that you can't just go somewhere and declare an ethno state and kick out the native population.
Okay, so you'd recognize, let's just grant I say Israel entirely did that, whatever. Okay, let's just grant Israel did that. You recognize Israel did then join the UN, correct?
Yes.
Israel became a UN recognized country, correct?
Yes.
As a UN recognized country, they have the right to exist under international law.
No.
No. Okay. What's the
UN is
basis
not
for you
a
believing
moral
that?
authority. What?
Oh, why did moral?
UN is
I
times.
never said more. I said under international law. I'm not. I recognize.
Under
I
international
recognize you
law,
might not
yes,
agree with international
but it
law.
doesn't matter. No, UN is Zionist.
Okay. First of all, I don't. The UN might be Zionist in that the majority of the UN recognizes Israel. The UN is not
Wait,
Zionist
I was gone
in
for
that.
2 seconds. You're saying that the UN is Zionist?
Yes.
What do you think about all the anti-Zionist like shit that they have been saying for the past years?
They have never said any anti-Zionist stuff.
Hold on. Wait.
How
no.
why am I not on my
They have
computer
passed.
to-
They have passed
Yeah.
resolutions declaring Zionism to be like a racist, supremacist thing. What do you mean? They have courts that have ruled against Israel or whatever.
Do
Not
they
that all of
recognize
that might
the
necessarily
state of Israel?
anti-Zionist, but does the UN
Do they
recognize Israel?
recognize the state of Israel? Yes.
Some of them, not all of them, but yeah, the majority of them.
Majority. So the majority is Zionist.
Okay.
It's as easy as that.
Yeah, it seems to be very easy. It's just all such a black and white and easy thing. This whole conflict.
Easy
I
issue.
didn't.
It's a genocide and an oppressor.
Yeah, I know that for you
bro.
people it's that easy.
For you people, what's that supposed to mean?
Well, anti-Zionist.
Wait, Cruiser, I think I
Anti-Zionist.
agree with you.
Yeah.
There might be some actions that are legal under IHL in Syria, but
So you're
I
telling
agree.
me-
Yeah, no, I agree.
Of course.
The annexation of Golden
Yeah,
Heights, I
well,
think, is
that's
illegal.
your
A lot of
people
their operations
and
in
you.
Syria are probably illegal. But yeah,
My people.
I agree.
Okay. Sounds kind of anti-Semitic, but okay.
What do you mean?
Your people. Your people.
I cannot say your people?
It's just
How's that
what-
anti-Semitic?
That's what they always say. Your people, your people, your people this, your people that. Anti-Semite people.
Okay,
True.
he got me.
Okay. Well, this was an interesting conversation,
Yes.
Marx, but I don't think you're going to contribute anything
And
meaningful.
secondly,
Doesn't-
Zionism is an anti-Semitic ideology.
Wow, you're the first one who has said that. I've never heard this one before.
Yes, and it's important to recognize.
Right. Do you think? Oh no, you've already admitted that you don't think any state has the right to exist, right?
No, not any state, but no nation state.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my
Well,
analogies can't
why
really
why
work
do you
when
want Palestinians to have a state so bad then?
Why I want Palestinians to have a state? I don't want them to have a state. I want them to be
to
emancipated.
be free?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Wait.
Why do they
wait,
have to
which
be
would
free in
look-
Israel?
Can you repeat this? This is
Why
very,
do they
very-
have to be? Why is the only way to free them to put them in Israel?
In what?
Into Israel.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Yeah, you would
That's what I
acknowledge
asked.
this.
It's Palestine. It's not Israel. Eretz
Wow,
Israel
wow,
is
wow,
Eretz-
wow, wow, great, wow,
It's
wow.
right now
Wait,
it's
hold on.
Israel, so-
You would acknowledge, Marx, Albie, if you literally just deported every Palestinian to the U.S., they'd be more free than they are now, right? You would acknowledge that?
And now, yes, but they are not free. They are not emancipated.
Okay, I mean, if you just want them
No
to be
one
free,
is
then why-
emancipated in Marxist
Yes, exactly.
theory.
Everybody needs to be free. Everybody needs to be emancipated so we can be emancipated.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be emancipated anywhere in Marxist theory. Do you get that?
Yes, they
If
would.
you put them anywhere on the map and give them any amount of money, they're not emancipated.
Of course, they would.
Okay.
With money, they would be emancipated in Marxist theory.
No. In Marxist theory, yes. If they have land and then everybody is emancipated, then we can free the people. But before,
I mean,
no.
Cruiser, are you in my server? We can talk about it sometime. I'm going to end stream within 10 minutes here because it's 4 a.m. where I am.
Oh, well.
Almost 4 a.m. where I am, but
Yes. Do you realize you're being anti-Semitic?
How am I
You
being
still have to-
anti-Semitic?
because Palestinians
Because
are
it's about
Semites too, and you
Zionism.
support their
Conflate.
genocide.
What? Okay, first of all,
I presume
you-
that's the argument you're going to make, is you're going to say Palestinians are Semites too.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. First of
Oh,
all,
okay. Enlighten me.
Israel is the kingdom of God in the Bible. It's not a nation state, and
Mhm.
and especially not a genocidal ethno state. Second, you can read the 3 oaths in the Tanakh. It says the Jews shall not have a state until not the Messiah comes back.
Yeah, I know all this.
From-
That's why the ultra-Orthodox Jews,
Yes.
they don't think Israel is legit either. But this is not
Yes.
about, yeah, but you get that this is not just about like the religious texts. This is
Yeah,
that
but you can't
Israel was a result out of thousands-year-long persecution of Jewish people, and that's why they need a state that is a Jewish
No.
majority, because in all other states ever in the history, they were persecuted as a minority. That's what
They were not-
it's about.
No.
It's
They
not
were
about a
not
fucking Messiah at this
rescued
point.
in every state. It's just not true. They lived in peace
And
with
you also get how
Palestinians.
anti-Semitism is not hate against a religion as well, right? You realize that it's about an ethnic group
Yes,
of Jewish people.
yes, it is an
So
ethnic
if I
group,
say
but
fuck the
I only said my first 2 things, and it's an
I'm sorry.
ethno-religion.
Okay, your first 2 things were bullshit. So go on.
No. It's an ethno-religion. Okay, the third thing. Wait, where are I? Oh, the state of Israel says is the state of Jews, and it conflates it with Judaism and makes more anti-Semitism because everybody thinks every Jew
Yeah,
is
I
a
know that
Zionist.
point too.
They even say
Wow.
this. They even say every Jew should be Zionist. Every Jew need to come to Israel. It's just so it promotes anti-Semitism even more, and doesn't
Yeah, because
represent.
anti-Semites hate Jewish people actually having a state of their own because they were persecuted everywhere else. They don't want Jewish people to like have rights and have a say and not be persecuted. That's why anti-Semites hate Israel, of course. But that doesn't mean because the oppressed people actually came together and built something to not be oppressed anymore, that
No,
they're actually supporting anti-Semitism. That's retarded. You get that, right?
no. The state of Israel promotes anti-Semitism because they do a genocide and say, "Oh, we do it in the name of all Jews," and even Jews
When did
in
they
New
say
York.
that? When did they say we're going to commit a genocide in the name of all Jews? When was that
Don't
ever
you
the
know
plan?
that Smoke Trit said that they're going to cut off all aid from Gaza, and let's hear
Yes,
it.
and
Let's hear it.
they just
Yep.
do this shit. They act like maybe they don't say it in these words, but they call themselves the Jewish state, not a Jewish state. They could
There
say
is
a Jewish state.
there is no other
Oh my
Jewish
God.
state. That's
Yeah,
why
but
it's the
still they
Jewish
could say
state. It's the only Jewish state.
they could still say a Jewish state.
There's
The
no other Jewish
implies that
state.
they represent
Why would
all
they?
Jews.
Why would they say a Jewish state when there is no other Jewish state? This is also, you see that how many fucking Christian states are there? How many Arab states are there? How many fucking
No Christians. There is only the Vatican City. All other states are secular, not a Christian
Yeah, but
state.
Hold on.
Israel is
No,
not secular.
I think Israel. Okay, there are definitely other theocracies. I mean, Iran's a theocracy, right? Vatican City's not the only.
Yes, but I was saying about Christian. Islam,
buddy,
yes.
Fuck,
Islam,
I'm tired. Sorry, but I also think
Yes,
Israel. I don't know if Israel doesn't claim to be. The religion does not like. Religious figures don't have like authority in the Israeli government, right? Or by authority, I don't just mean like. I mean, the same way like
They have
Iran
to-
has like the head of the their supreme leader is also the head of the church or whatever. That's not the same in Israel, right? Israel just has.
No. But they have these
no.
weird parties from Likud party or what it's called.
Right, but you could have like an evangelical Christian party in America. That wouldn't make America a
the
Christian
biggest party in
theocracy.
Germany is the Christian party.
Right.
It's not a Christian party, but okay.
Well, on paper, of course, you could argue if they were actually Christians and if they adhere to the Bible and everything they say, but they call themselves the Christian party. That's the same like in Israel.
No, they
When you
don't,
have like,
so- but okay.
okay, cool. Well, I actually have to fucking start my day. I woke up and I came in here, and so
I have to head out too. It's almost 4 a.m. where I am. It's
No arguments, then you have to go. Obvious.
yeah, you got
okay.
us.
I've been streaming
You
for 8
actually
hours and 30
obliterated
minutes, and yeah, I've talked to you 2 times today. But okay.
Okay,
I guess
Nonfon,
I'll
I
just see
hope
up
you
to
will
this
finally
day.
become anti-Zionist.
Okay. I'll see you later, buddy. Do you have any final words? Is
Yes.
that it?
Zionism, Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. The state of Israel must go.
Okay, good one.
King.
What? We didn't even get to say bye to Ophelia. Oh.
Sorry, you left, so I left.
No, I just kicked him. Okay, I was like, yeah, we didn't get to say bye or anything. Damn. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I thought you just left, so I just yeah.
I would never leave without saying I love you. Okay.
I love you too. Have a good sleep.
Wow. You too. Well, you're starting your day. but
No,
have a good day.
I'm gonna have a good day.
Yeah.
I don't have to work, so.
Now you will answer my question. How do I calculate someone's savings rate?
No. I don't take the position.
No. I answered your question. Now answer mine. How do I calculate someone's savings rate?
I don't take position.
You don't take a position on that.
Yes.
Right. So do you admit my graph was entirely correct and you could not read it?
No, it's not correct. You said it.
Oh, why is it not correct?
It doesn't.
Why is it not correct?
How does dollar
Hey, Hamas boy, why is it not correct? Bitch boy, answer the question. Yo, Nonfon.
Yeah.
This guy, man. Despacito, am I right?
Gangnam Style.
That's true.
Okay, can you answer the question?
Yeah, bitch boy, answer my question. What was wrong with the graph?
What's wrong with the graph?
Yes, dumbass.
Okay, how does dollar cancel out?
No one said anything cancels out.
That's the answer.
If
No,
stuff
it
canceled out, I would not include it in the first place. It would just cancel
doesn't.
out.
Have x divided by x divided by x.
No one had x divided by x. No one had any x divided by x. You are dumb.
1 over dollar.
Look. When you divide two things, then Fred, the website, shows on the side the units, right? So let's say I wanted to calculate, I don't know, something like the portion of national defense spending as a percentage of GDP, right? I would do government spending on defense divided by GDP. It would show me dollar over dollar because the denominator is dollars and the numerator is dollars.
Yes, but you have two.
Because I'm adding things in the denominator.
3 times dollar. Hello.
I have a plus sign in the denominator because I'm adding two things that are both enumerated in dollars, dumbass.
No, it's not. You have 3 times dollars. If you cancel it
No, I
out,
don't have
only
3 times anything. I don't have it 3 times anything.
You still have 1 over dollar. You just can't do math.
No, I definitely don't.
Yes, you definitely can't. Yes.
Want to read it?
Yes, you can read it.
Yes. So it's in the denominator, you have the consumption of fixed capital divided by 1,000 because it's given in millions. And so that's in dollars. And you don't multiply, you add the compensation of employees, which is also in dollars. So the entire denominator is in dollars, billions of dollars actually.
No, that's not even what you showed. Wait.
Yes, it is, dumb fuck. Yes, you have to read it again because you cannot read.
No, I don't have to read it again because I have to.
You do. You just said you do.
Okay, then how does it make sense if I cannot?
Nonfon, show it on stream. I cannot show it on stream right now.
No. Well, on stream or on the recording.
On your
I did
window,
show
whatever
it
you're
on the-
recording on.
I did show it on the recording. Yeah.
Okay, it's 1,000.
Yeah, everyone can read. So as Nonfon is showing this, anyone can read. No, sure. Pipe down.
Divided by what's it called?
Billions of dollars. Don't fuck.
No, I have to Google the world.
Nothing there is non-dollar. It's either scalars. It's either numbers like 100 or dollar.
Dollar divided by
Yes.
bracket million of dollar divided by 1,000 plus billion of dollar.
Exactly. Okay. So what is okay? If I have something giving in millions of dollars and I divide by 1,000, that would give me billions of dollars. For example, let's say someone tells you they have 1,000 millions. Well, you take the 1,000, you divide by 1,000, and you get one. That's 1 billion, right? If someone tells you they have 420,000 millions, that means they have 420 divided by 1,000 divided by 1,000. That's 420. They have 420 billion. That's how it works. If you have the number of something in millions, you take that number and you divide by 1,000. You get the number of that thing in billions. That's basic math.
That's not even what I was asking. What I was saying is, if you look at the bracket, okay, you do it. You can't even cancel out because you have plus, okay.
No one says anything cancels out. When did I say anything cancels out? Don't fuck.
You said in the end it's what it's called.
You mean the units of the numerator are the same of the units as the denominator? Because that's true.
No.
If that's what you mean by cancels out.
You said dollar cancels out, and in the end you have a unitless size. Unitless number.
Then that's the case. Then that's the case. So you agree the numerator. Wait, you agree the numerator is dollars, right?
Numerator is dollar. Which one? There are two.
There's only one numerator.
No, the very top you have 100 times.
There's no such thing as two numerators.
Yes, there are. There are two divisions.
What are the two numerators?
One of them is 100 times billion of dollar, and then million of dollar is also numerator.
Okay, you're talking about me dividing by 1,000 in the denominator of the entire thing. I'm talking about the entire thing. The numerator is billions of dollars, and the times 100 is outside. Think of it as just like converting to percentages. You should do that regardless. But put the 100 aside. We'll get there. Do you agree the numerator of the entire thing is billions of dollars? We agree?
Yes.
Great. That's billions of dollars, right?
Yes, of course.
Great. I'm so happy you agreed. Okay, great. Now, we need the units of the denominator to also be billions of dollars, right?
Yes.
Great. Good job. So the compensation of employees is given in billions of dollars, but the consumption of capital, that's given in millions. What can we do to convert it to billions? I know. We divide by 1,000. That's how you convert the number of something in millions to the number of something in billions.
Yes, but you can cancel out.
Great. So we take C divided by 1,000, we add it to V, and we get C plus V in terms of billions. And then we put that in the denominator. And then we get S over C plus V, which, guess what, is the rate of profit. I know you didn't know that because you never read anything. Not even just Marx. You never read anything in your life. You're illiterate. You're dumb.
It's not the rate of profit.
It is. You're stupid.
It's not.
It is.
Wait, what is then?
It is.
It's the net value added of non-financial.
That's S. That's the surplus value. That's the surplus value. Yes.
Operating.
That's the surplus value. Yes. That's the value added. That's surplus value. That's surplus value.
Value added of non-corporate business.
No. We understand you're reading the heading of the graph, but Fred does not have an entry for just the rate of profit. That's why he's. Yeah, they're indexes.
Well, not fun. You're not debating him. Let me debate him.
Sure,
so
okay.
I know you're dumb and all. Guess what? Fred doesn't have S, C, and V as the name of the indices. Okay. What I do is I see the formula S over C plus V. I take an index that represents S. well, not an index, a metric that represents S. I take a metric that represents C, and I take a metric that represents V, and I put them in the equation. So if when you read net value added of blah, 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 you say S, and if when you see consumption of fixed capital, blah, blah, you say C, and if when you see compensation of employees, you say V, you just get S over C plus V, which is the formula for the rate of profit, which you don't know because you're too dumb. You're too fucking dumb.
It's not.
It is, and you're dumb. It is, and you're dumb. It is, and you're dumb.
It has no.
It is, even if it was, even if it was, it isn't.
One company
Impeccable.
doesn't say anything about the whole world.
No one said anything about the whole world.
Yes, that's the fact.
Why would I include? Why would I care about the whole world when not the whole world? When the whole world is not just one economy, there are non-capitalist economy included. But
No,
before we get
okay,
there,
name one
before we get there,
Name
I
one
was
non-capitalist
saying you interrupted me. You interrupted me. I was saying before we get there,
I will interrupt
do you
I will
concede
interrupt.
before we get there? By the way, I just want to point out two things.
Anytime I say
One,
don't, blah, blah, blah,
wait.
blah,
I
blah,
want to point out two things.
Okay, name
One,
non-capitalist
it must be fucking
Name
embarrassing
one
that you're not willing to admit that you were the person who debated me back then. You're so ashamed of your performance back then that you're not even admitting you're the same person. That must be pathetic. That must be humiliating. That's the first thing. The second thing is, the second thing is, I want a concession. I want a concession. Yeah, he's not gonna. Okay, North Korea. Now let me finish. North Korea. Now let me finish. I already did.
Okay, what?
I said you didn't listen.
Yeah, I didn't.
Do a better job listening. I'll repeat it. So I said one. It must be embarrassing that you're not even willing to admit you're the same person from that debate. You got so humiliated. You got so crushed that you're even denying that you're the same person.
And one non-capitalist country.
Okay, if I do, will you let me speak?
Yes, that's what you said.
Okay, North Korea. Now let me speak. So one, it must be fucking. Yeah, it's not. Okay. I'll let you talk. Just let me finish.
Okay.
So one, it must be fucking humiliating. You want me to turn you down? What do you want me to do? Look. One, it must be fucking humiliating that you're not admitting that you're the same person from 5 months. It's so humiliating that you're even denying you're the same person. That's the first thing. The person who I debated on Marxism like 5 months ago on Nonfon Stream.
No, it's
yeah. You even answer the questions in the same way. You say minus, plus, plus, minus. Yeah, it's the same person.
Okay, and then how is North Korea a non-capitalist country?
They have a centralized economy.
That's not the definition of capitalism.
That I didn't say that's the definition of capitalism. I said that's an example of a non-capitalist economy.
No, it's not. Just wrong.
Yes, it is.
It's plain out wrong. It's plain out wrong.
Flat out.
Yes,
You don't say plain out.
Yes.
You don't say plain out, dumbass. You cannot speak English. Look. Very simple. Very simple. Second thing, do we concede that my graph showed that the rate of profit in the United States is not falling? Not in the world, in the United States. Do you concede?
It's not the rate of profit.
So let's finish that debate. And then move on to the world, right?
And why does it say millions times billions?
Oh my god.
No, it doesn't say times anywhere. It doesn't say times anywhere other than 100 times to convert to percentages. Nowhere else does it say times.
You think it?
I said times. other than 100 times to convert to percentages, it doesn't multiply anything because the formula doesn't multiply anything.
You think billions?
Whoa, the slurs! Oh my god.
You think billions of dollars is not billions times dollars? I actually think this.
Brother. That's I said the formula doesn't multiply.
It's 100 times x.
That's just the units. You could say that, but that's not. You could say that, but I said the formula I put has no multiplication other than to convert to percentages. Yes. Now look. If you consider saying billions of dollars as multiplication, which I see no reason to do, but if you want to do that, then it multiplies. Nowhere does it multiply dollars by dollars. It only multiplies stuff by scalars. I said dollars by dollars, not scalars by dollars.
Yes, but it's still a multiplication.
That's fine, but that's okay. You can do that.
You can also define the division as multiplication. It doesn't matter if you do a division or multiplication.
It's not a multiplication sign. Do you agree there's only one multiplication sign?
Yes, one. You mean an asterisk?
One asterisk. Yes, that's a multiplication sign.
Yes, there is one asterisk sign.
Great, great. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Do you agree the formula for the rate of profit is S over C plus V?
It's debatable, but it's one.
It's
one
not
of
at
the
all
formulas.
debatable. It's not at all debatable.
Yes, it is.
There's only one way in which it's debatable, but I'm sure you don't know it. Can you explain how you think it's debatable?
Yes, because you don't integrate the falling money value.
No, that means nothing. You just said nothing.
Yes.
Where do I
yes.
integrate?
You should integrate the falling value of money.
What does that mean? You mean
Well-
control for inflation? You mean control for inflation?
No. For example, in 1960, $100 was worth.
That's
more than-
inflation, dumbass. That's inflation, dumbass. Yeah.
Inflation.
If you divide dollars by dollars, you don't need to account for the value of money. When you divide dollars by dollars, you don't need to control for inflation because it will cancel out. If I divide by a deflator in the numerator and the denominator, the deflators will cancel out.
Wow.
You don't know this. You don't know this. This is basic. This is basic, and you're so stupid. You're so stupid.
No, you are stupid.
You have the biggest ego to IQ ratio I've ever seen. It's crazy.
Okay, now the next debate.
No. I want a concession. I want you to concede that you were wrong. I'm not moving anywhere until you
No.
concede.
I don't concede
Then let's stay on
anything.
that topic. Then let's stay on that topic.
Are you really this low IQ to ego ratio that you think this?
What? I think you have a high ego to IQ ratio.
Yes, and you have a low IQ to. You have a low
I agree. I have a very low ego to IQ ratio. I agree. We are in complete
No,
agreement.
very low.
We're in complete
Very low
agreement.
IQ. You have a very low IQ.
This guy. Whoa, thank you. Either way, do you concede that I was entirely correct on the falling rate of profit for the United States, and you were entirely wrong?
No, it's just entirely.
No, then let's debate that. Then let's keep debating that. Let's keep debating that.
My God. Are you really this low IQ?
Wow, what an argument. Look, do you agree that the formula for the rate of profit is S over C plus V?
It's one of the possible formula, yes.
What's the other formula?
The other formula is 2 over C plus V.
But this guy, man, this guy's something. Look, that's not true. What you said, Mark Sabe?
It is
Not
true, it is-
surprised that you like Hassan, by the way. That's not shocking to me. But either way. So that's not true. The formula for the rate of profit, by the way, the 2 over C plus V is not even like adjusted for inflation anyway. But either way, no, that's false. So the formula for the rate of profit is S over C plus V. Great. Now, what we do is we take a metric that represents S, namely net value added of the business sector. We divide it by the consumption of capital in the business sector, and then we add to the denominator, we add the composition of employees in the business sector, and then we get the rate of profit for the business sector. That's how you do it. And when you do it, you see that the rate of profit is actually
only look at
incredibly
business-
stagnant, if anything, slightly increasing since 1940.
Yes, but you can't only look at the business sector.
That's businesses.
Yes, you need to look at the other sectors too,
What are the other sectors?
like industry.
That's included in business
Well,
because these are businesses. When you have a
you need to look
factory,
at other
that's a
sectors
business.
too.
Like
Military.
military is not a capitalist business. Why would I include it in the rate of profit?
Because United States spends a lot on military.
That's not what I asked.
I need
Look,
it.
anything that
Because-
is not the state, anything that's not the state, anything that's not the state is included in the business sector because these are businesses. The they're businesses. They operate with employees and they make profits. That's what businesses are. I know you don't know this. That's what it is. I love the cope. I love the cope. You've never had anything. You're just like grasping at straws to find anything whatsoever.
It doesn't matter if the businesses make more profit, if they need to spend more.
Just concede.
No, I already told you it doesn't matter. It's not relevant.
Do you agree the graph I showed is the rate of profit and it's not falling in the United States?
No, it doesn't include the military.
It does. Not state spending. Anything that's not the state is included.
Military is state.
The military contracts out to non-state actors.
Yes, but the spending doesn't. See, it is even.
What do you mean the spending doesn't? Just to be clear, what I did is not controversial. There are Marxist economists, probably the same person from the graph that you cited, probably Basu. In his papers, he does the exact same thing I did. Right? So, like, just to be clear, if you're objecting to methodology, you're objecting to the methodology of the person you cited. That's embarrassing.
First of all, which person did I
First of
cite?
all,
You don't even know the person.
that is a world rate of profit, right?
Yes, the world rate of profit.
And it's overwhelmingly likely going to be either Basu or Michael Roberts. Both of them use the same data source did.
Basu, it's not Basu, but okay.
Okay, so who is it? Michael Roberts?
No, it's actually from. I don't know from who it is.
You don't even know what you're citing? You're just citing shit you saw on Twitter because you're low IQ and dumb?
I didn't see it on Twitter, but okay. I
You
know.
you certainly did. You most certainly did.
No, I just googled rate of profit
Oh,
graph.
even worse. Even worse. Even worse.
And I wasn't even
Yeah, I
citing.
just googled stuff that agrees with me. I just googled stuff that agrees with me and sent the first result. That's what you did. That's pathetic. Either way. Anything else? I want to go back to the gym. It's closing in an hour. So, do you have anything else? I think anyone listening to this knows I completely crushed you. So we'll leave it to the audience to decide. Yeah, we'll leave it to the audience. No, we will leave it to the audience. They'll decide. Now I give you three more attempts. 3 strikes. You either ask something related to economics that we disagree on, or you get the fuck out.
Oh, why economics? It's not about economics.
We did debate economics. I sent something about the falling rate of profit. You didn't read it. For example, I'll throw you a bone. Did you see the study I sent, right, about the rates of profits with the Markov switching approach?
No, what study?
You didn't even read what I sent? I'll send it again. Here, I'll send it in the general chat again, because you cannot read for shit.
Neoliberal propaganda.
Here, read this.
It's just an abstract, and it's not.
It's the abstract of a study. Do you want me to link you the study?
The result for this nonlinear approach reinforced previous empirical evidence that does not provide support for a systematic and declining tendency in rate of profit advanced in the Marxian literature. Wow, it's just not neutral. And
Ray, give me a second.
it doesn't even say that it's only in the US in the sentence you marked.
Why are you even saying? Say that again. I didn't listen. I don't really care.
It's only in the US.
It is.
It says as advanced in the Marxian literature. But Marxian
It literally says it's in the United States. It literally says, read the first sentence in the abstract.
First sentence. But I said in the sentence you marked. You didn't even mark this.
I marked the part that I want to highlight.
Yes, and that's just ingenious.
No, it's not disingenuous, you dumbass.
Yes, it is.
It's not at all disingenuous. It's just the part that I want to highlight.
This study is disingenuous. It says
Look.
it does
Look.
not, it just
Look.
comes from one point
If
to
I have a study and I want to highlight the conclusion, I'm not going to highlight the data part or the in previous blah 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 blah. I'm just highlighting the conclusion. That's what I wanted to highlight. Either way. Suppose because you're too. I'm not going to be able to get it through to you. I can explain to you. I cannot understand it for you. So suppose I did mark it disingenuously. Do you agree the study agrees with me? Wait. Suppose I did highlight it disingenuously. I didn't, but suppose I did. Do you concede it agrees with me entirely and doesn't agree with you at all whatsoever?
First of all, I didn't say you marked it disingenuously. I said the study is disingenuous because of the last sentence. It says it doesn't...
I added the yellow part.
You wrote this sentence?
I added the yellow part.
You wrote the last sentence.
I didn't write it. I highlighted it. The abstract is
Yes.
the entire words, and I just highlighted the last sentence.
Yes, and I think the last part of the last sentence, declining blah 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 as advanced in the Marxian literature, this is disingenuous because the study doesn't show that it doesn't support the
It
Marxian
does
literature.
show it. It
Marx
does.
would never say in one country, and this study is just about one country.
It's you understand that no one agrees with you, right?
I don't care if you liberals agreed with me.
No Marxist just says the rate of profit is only about the entire fucking world. Marx never wrote about just the entire fucking world. Here's the question. Where in Marx does he say that he's talking just about the entire fucking world and not just nation states or economies?
Well, Marx didn't know about that capitalism will end up in imperialism. You need to read Lenin on this.
You actually don't at all. Where does Lenin say that the rate of profit only applies to the entire economy, to the entire world?
Because he said imperialism is the highest state of capitalism, and of course
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. You're too low IQ to get this. You're too low IQ to understand.
Wait, of course, imperialist country can relocate their falling rate of profit to another country when they're exploiting it.
Do you agree that in the United States the rate of profit has not fallen?
Yes.
Okay? We agree. Great. Do you agree that So do you agree that two leading Marxists in the falling rate of profit, that are Basu and Michael Roberts, have published literature about the United States specifically?
First of all, these two people are not.
Hey, answer the question.
Yeah, then no, because these people are not the two
No,
leading Marxists.
answer the question. I didn't say
You said
these are the
leading
two
Marxists
most.
in your
I said
question.
both of them are leading. I don't know if they're the most leading, but two of them are leading.
No, they're not leading. So I say
They
no
are.
to this question.
They are. Okay. Do you agree that two big Marxist economists, Basu and Michael Roberts, I think
They're not
Debunking, that's his name. They are Marxists. Yes.
You can say two. No, they're not. If they say this, they're not Marxist.
No true Scotsman.
You can say two economists say this. Yes, maybe. I don't care.
By the way, to be clear, when we debated right now and back then, you could not define the falling rate of profit. So no one should listen to anything you say ever. By the way, you were so fucking embarrassed. You got crushed so fucking hard that you denied being the same person from that debate. You denied that you were the same person. You know you got folded so fucking hard that you're denying that it even happened. That's crazy.
What person? What person?
What person? The guy that when we asked like what's GDP, he said consumption plus the workers and minus whatever. Like that guy. Same guy, same voice, same dumbass answers. Same person.
Maybe it's somebody who has a similar voice, but it's not me.
Really? I'll let the audience decide.
It was definitely you. You even said it was you yesterday. Remember? Because I brought it up yesterday.
No.
You definitely did.
We'll let the people listening decide. Look. So before I go back to the gym, final question. Let me think what the final question should be. Let's see. How about, have you read anything ever whatsoever from economics journals or from any book that disagrees with you about economics?
No, why would I read it?
Okay, that's perfect. That's awesome. I think that's enough. Have a nice one.
You haven't read Lenin, you haven't read Trotsky, you haven't read
Gotcha.
Mao, you haven't read Marx.
Gotcha.
You haven't read anything.
Gotcha. I banned him. Look, so Nonfon, that was funny. I'll see you later. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Bro,
Upload
sample
that
text.
to
Why
your
did you
channel.
not grill him on the fact that he said the people who understand economics aren't Marxists?
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Wait, you literally gave reference to two Marxist economists, and he said if those people understand or believe in that principle of freaking S.
No, what he was saying is that I was saying, oh, let's hear the study looking at the U.S. rate of profit, right? And he said, no, Marx said you need to look at the entire world. And I said, when did Marx say this? And he said, actually, Marx didn't say this. It's Lenin. I said, when did Lenin say this? And he's like, he said capital is exploitation is the highest form of capital or whatever the fuck, stupid shit. And then I said, okay, do you concede that two big Marxist economists do what I say, right? Like they look at the United States specifically in their papers. And he said, if they do it, they're not Marxists. He didn't say something. He didn't say something like, if you understand economics, they're not Marxists or anything. By the way, Nonfon. Are you going to upload that? Did you end the recording?
I haven't ended it yet, but
Okay.
Bro, also, like, another thing, I've read a little bit of Lenin. It's crazy how he tries to use Lenin's definition of imperialism, considering the fact that Lenin literally defines imperialism as an exercising of hard or soft power by a capitalist state. But when a socialist state does it, it's assimilation.
Right. I mean, the Soviet Union did this many times. I mean, they cry about like interventionism and whatever, but when Cuba sends fucking weapons to half the world, they don't cry about it at all. In fact, they cheer it on. But yeah, I mean, either way.
USSR literally invaded 12 countries, including Afghanistan.
Yep.
The history of the Prussian Empire under the Russia prior to the USSR forming, and even during Tsarist Russia, and that like predates the Marxist revolutions, were literally the most imperialist states in all of the world.
Right. But yeah, either way, that was fun. I'm going back to the gym. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Okay.
Yep, you have a
All
good
right.
one.
Yeah. Bye
hell
bye.
yeah. Talk to her. I'll see you guys. If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.